Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That is Stephen Jensen. And shout out to, as always, to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. It is Thursday, October 24th. We got a lot to talk about in the world of wrestling, as always. But first, Jensen, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I am tired on this Thursday morning. Just got back from the casino yesterday. Had a good trip up there. The Vikings play tonight. I'm looking forward to that. The 5-1 Minnesota Vikings taking on the Los Angeles Rams today. Big game for the Vikings for a lot of reasons. You know, they want to keep the momentum going. They lost last week, but they lost to a really good team in the Detroit Lions, and we kind of beat ourselves as well. So, you know, we'll bounce back, I'm hoping. Kevin O'Connell, a lot of our coaching staff has history with Los Angeles Rams, won a Super Bowl with LA Rams, as a matter of fact, a few years back. So this is a big game, and I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, how you doing, man?
I'm well. It is, another day. Basketball season is underway.
Yeah.
And my team actually plays tonight. It's been a couple of days, but my team has not played, but they play tonight, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Yeah, the NBA and NHL seasons both started while I was at the casino, which was fun. I was able to, watch all those games on like the big screen in the sports book and stuff. By the way, I'm not advocating anybody goes out there and gambles their money. Just want to let everyone know right off the bat. I'm a grown responsible adult who does not have kids or children. So any financial decisions I make only affect me, so if I want to go off and lose my money, I can go do that. But I had a really good couple days at the casino. I played a lot of roulette, which is 100% luck and chance. Obviously, I mainly play blackjack usually, but I was having like up and down luck in blackjack. It kind of wasn't going anywhere, and my number on roulette is 22. I play $5 on 22. And I play $1 on 34 and $1 on 5. All three numbers are together on the those three numbers are back to back to back on the board. So I have $1 on 5, $5 on 22, $1 on 34. I hit 22 8 times in 2 days, which is not common. So I had really good luck on roulette this week. So that's what I've been doing pretty much nonstop the last couple of days, and also, of course, went action figure hunting while I was out and about. Went to some different Walmarts and stuff. Picked up some. I've already got some of myself on display, but like they got these WCW, WWF Monday Night War figures. I don't know if you've seen these yet, but they got like some cool ones, like the West Texas Rednecks, Kurt Hennig and stuff. So it's just like cool that they make that figure. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I got this OG Eddie Guerrero from WCW with the U.S. title. That's like, this is what Eddie Guerrero looked like when I started watching wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool that they got that. And then, of course, had to grab Diamond Dallas Page, holding up that diamond cutter and stuff. But I got a bunch of action figures and stuff. I wound up very ahead. We'll just put it that way. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna go splurge on some stuff. And so yeah, it's been a good few days, but I'm glad to be back here and talking about wrestling. Also, just a heads up to everybody, we're gonna have Maggie on the show live probably within the next hour to an hour and a half, probably around the time we finish the AEW WWE topics. We'll bring Maggie on. Do you hear like a rumble or anything on my microphone? Does everything sound okay?
No, it sounds fine.
Sounds fine. Okay. Sorry, the fan in my computer.
Well, I don't think I even have my microphone plugged in, so that I might sound weird.
No, you sound fine. Unless you might have a good built-in mic though on that thing. I'm apologize in advance. Everyone let me know if there is any issues with my audio. The only reason I say that is because sometimes the fan in my computer will kind of go on overdrive. Like it'll get really loud sometimes. And it feels like that's kind of happening because I need a new computer pretty much. I need to clean the space out of mine. I was just like got so much stuff on here over the years. Anyways, we already got a super chat. Thank you, Shout Out Spurs.
Yeah, guys, you can leave a super chat. Statement read on air. You can leave a thumbs up on the video. That helps us out. You can subscribe to the channel. That helps as well if you're listening on demand. Well, real quickly before we get into the super chat and everything, Tyler's parlay tonight is Vikings cover the spread. Justin Jefferson 80 touchdowns and a touchdown.
Yeah, I think he means 80 yards and a touchdown.
I like 80 touchdowns.
I like 80 touchdowns too. I'm totally cool with that. Justin Jefferson is my favorite player. As a matter of fact, this is how super.
I think that'd be a record.
Yeah, I think it would. I'm so superstitious that I have a Justin Jefferson jersey, and I've worn it every game that the Vikings have played, and I did not wash it until this week. I kept that thing unwashed until they lost, and now But that's I will do anything to try to help Will wins for the Minnesota Vikings, including not washing my jersey for 2 months or whatever. Yeah, I mean 80 yards and a touchdown I think is very doable. I've seen some lines out there, once again, not promoting gambling, but I have seen some out there that are like putting him at a discount at like 50 or 60 yards, which I feel like is pretty much a lock. Like JJ, they feed JJ the ball. So I'm really hoping, I'm hoping that they have a good week. I would love to see Justin Jefferson score 80 touchdowns. I would love to see that, but I think realistically speaking, he's probably good for at least one, maybe multiple. It just depends, because I don't know if I think TJ Hawkinson's going to be back tonight. I got to double check. He's there. I don't know if they've officially announced yet, but Sam Darnold's going to have some major weapons now. I mean, he already had JJ. Jordan Addison just came back, who I think is the best number 2 receiver in the NFL, in my honest opinion. And then we have TJ Hawkinson coming back, who's like the highest paid tight end, really productive when he's out there. I mean, and then Aaron Jones is running the ball. Like, Green Bay thought he was washed and just like pretty much just like let him walk. And their trash was our treasure. Like, the guy still got plenty he got plenty of juice left. I mean, he's playing great. So, Tyler says both poor passing defenses. Yeah, I'd agree. The thing with the Vikings though is like they're too quick to go into like the prevent type defenses. Like, they'll get ahead and then they'll like let people get yards on them because they feel like they can just hold people and then score points. And I don't like that mindset. I feel like that costs us game. That costs us against the Lions. We let them get down the field and kick a field goal at the end where we also should have converted on third down right before that as well. So, I mean, I can sit here and talk about the Vikings all day. I know you guys don't want me to do that, so I will cut myself off. But it is a Vikings game day, so I am very happy for that. Also rocking my Purple Daily merch. We had Declan on the show like a year ago during the Vikings season. That's their podcast over there. So shout out to those guys too. They do great work covering the Vikings.
I don't talk about football.
Well, how about has NHL or NBA gone well for you yet? Like, just as a fan, I know you said like your teams haven't all played yet, but like, is it just I'm sure you're excited that the seasons are back.
Yeah, the Thunder haven't played yet. They played tonight, and the Avs started off 0-4, but are now 3-4. So they've won 3 straight. So it's
Gotcha.
It's been okay. It was a rough start, but they finally got some competent goaltending. So that's where we're at. D-Lo Diggs in the chat saying opening day, go Mavs. Yeah, the Mavs are another team that have not played when it comes to the NBA. So a few teams, and the Nuggets, who the Thunder played tonight, a few teams have not played in basketball. But I think every team after tonight will have played.
Nice. I didn't see if the Hawks won last night or not.
They did. They played a not very good team. I think they played the Nets, who are projected to be maybe one of the worst teams in the league. Like, they're definitely projected to be bottom 5. I would even say bottom 3, and they could end up being the absolute worst by the end of the season. They're a bad team.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm good to know that the Hawks won. The T-Wolves. I like the T-Wolves as well. I'm obviously a Minnesota Vikings fan, but I mainly just cover that or mainly follow them because I love the NFL so much, and they've always been my team. Because for people who don't know, my dad's whole side of the family is from Minnesota and North Dakota. So it's like that's how I am. I was born into a Vikings family. When we go to the bars and stuff before all the games were available on TV. Like, growing up, the younger generation might not understand. Growing up, if the game wasn't on like, channel 3 or channel 5 or whatever, this is before like ESPN had the rights to like all these different games and sports, like all these different channels, way before the packages that you could just like order. And even when you could, it was like incredibly expensive and you needed a satellite and all this stuff. So like as a Vikings family, we always had to go to a bar to watch the games. They like never aired at our house. So my whole childhood is every Sunday finding a bar that's, with my family that's playing the Vikings games, like driving bar to bar to bar until someone's got the game. And I've been following them closely ever since. But as far as basketball goes, I consider myself more of like a Hawks fan because I get to go to, some of the games during the season, but I do still follow the T-Wolves a little bit. And it was really cool seeing that Anthony Edwards and Justin Jefferson recreated the Randy Moss and Kevin Garnett ESPN cover the other day too. So like, it's cool that they have two like big stars on both, both sports. Both teams are actually good, but I did see that the T-Wolves lost to the Lakers, and I was at the casino and everybody stopped what they were doing when Bronny and LeBron came in together. Like everyone who was like gambling and stuff, everyone just kind of stopped and like watched that moment happen when Bronny and LeBron entered the game together for the Lakers. So, cool moment, and stuff. So I think the NBA and the NFL has been pretty smart this year as far as like almost like their storylines and in season scripts and everything so far. Like they know what to do to get that was very calculated having Bronny and Braun enter the game. I mean, clearly that was you know what I mean. So, but it worked. Everyone in the casino was watching. So
it was a cool moment. Like I don't know if Bronny is going to be a good player this season, potentially down the line, but it was very clear once he checked in, Minnesota went on like a 7-0 run and they were trying to attack him like every single possession. And then it was like, yeah, we should probably get him out of this game, but he'll get some sporadic playing time here and there and he might develop into a good player. He's not there yet, but I understand why they did it and why they drafted him and everything. He's just not there yet.
Of course. I mean, and he didn't get drafted. Like he got drafted probably earlier than he should have from what I understand, but he wasn't drafted like in the first round, like one of the first picks. It wasn't
he was the 55th pick. It's not even so much that he got drafted at 55, like whatever. If you're going to spend a 55th overall pick, there's only 60 picks in the draft. Like it's fine to take him at 55. It's obviously the way it happened and then him getting paid basically more than some first round picks is kind of like, oh, well, you're paying him like a first round pick, even though he's the 55th overall pick. So that's where the optics are bad.
That's understandable. That's clear nepotism. But at the same time because I know Bronny is involved with like FaZe Clan, like the video game organization and stuff like that. And I wonder, does that deal also, because I don't know how it works. Is that because I'm sure he's selling a ton of jerseys without having like really ever played, and I'm sure that factors into it somehow. I don't because I remember like Tim Tebow getting like mega screwed in college, like whenever like they were selling his jerseys and stuff. That was before the NIL deals and stuff where he couldn't get paid. But then like even though Tebow wasn't a good NFL player, he sold a ton of Denver Broncos jerseys. You know what I mean? I have no idea how that works with your deal if like every player makes the same percentage on their merch regardless, or if that's like part of why Bronny's deal is as high as it is because they're anticipating him to sell so many jerseys. Like I literally have no idea. That's all I can really outside of what's most likely is probably just he's LeBron's son. They're on the same team. When LeBron was like making sure he got paid, which is probably the most likely.
Yeah, that's I don't think jersey sales has anything to do. Like it's the Lakers. They ain't hurting for money.
Sure.
Any Lakers player is probably gonna sell some money. Dalton Connect is probably gonna sell more jerseys, maybe, but Dalton Connect actually looks like a ready NBA player, where Bronny isn't quite there yet. All right, let's jump into some wrestling here. We'll start with what our super chat is.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
Tony Khan lying on that one, which. Last night wasn't a great show. Chi-Town Spurs says, how in God's name do you look at that FTW reign and say, you know what? We should give Jericho another title. TK, you're killing me. Well, this is my spotlight. Chris Jericho winning the ROH World Championship in a ladder war against Mark Briscoe. I figured this was going to happen after Jericho lost at Wrestle Dream, and then they decided to do an immediate rematch despite him losing. Well, probably not going to lose 2 straight, and it's a ladder match, so you can protect Mark with not having him take a pinfall or anything. Chris Jericho is the ROH champion once again, and maybe he'll show up on ROH. I don't know. The big thing is, I don't know if you saw this. Joel Pearl posted this on his Twitter. I think this is from Threads. I can't really tell what the layout is, but I think it's from Threads. Maybe it's from Blue Sky. But ROH tweeted, threaded, skied, "We have a new ROH World Champion, ugh." And then someone replied, "Doesn't matter. They're never on your show anyways." And then ROH replied, "Take a break." This is a verified ROH account. Again, I'm not quite sure what the platform is. It doesn't look like Twitter. I think it's Threads. But yes, the ROH is arguing with fans about taking a break of, we have a new champion and he's not going to appear on the show. Maybe you should take a break. I saw a lot of people not happy about Chris Jericho winning the championship and just complaining about how this is going to go. What was your thought, Jensen?
So, I mean, first off, y'all know outside of Cody Rhodes, Chris Jericho is my favorite wrestler of all time. So I'm probably not the best person to ask these questions to. Like, listen, I get the Jericho hate. Like, I understand for the most part. Like, I'm going to talk just about Chris Jericho, the professional wrestler. Okay, I think that we've seen him on screen for forever. The learning tree stuff I find to be pretty entertaining. And the reason I liked it so much, honestly, outside of Jericho being involved, because I still do like Chris Jericho. I know people are going to hate me for saying that, but I think ultimately it's going to help Brian Keith and Big Bill a lot in the long run that they're involved in this. And both guys, I think, have tremendous potential. Like, I think that Big Bill, I've said it a trillion times, that guy should be a way bigger star in wrestling than he is right now. And I get he got in his own way throughout his career and stuff, but it seems like things have been going great since he's been in AEW. And when you're that guy's size and you can move the way that guy can and talk the way that guy can, like, that guy could really be money. I really honestly believe that. I unironically am a big fan of what I think he could potentially. I mean, I've said it before. I feel like if he went back to the WWE at some point in the future, they would massively push him in his second chance there. And Brian Keith, I've been a fan of. I was a huge fan of his indie work, especially the stuff he was doing out of like the Texas area, like New Texas and Loco Wrestling and stuff like that. And that guy also, I think, has a ton of potential and has done great in AEW. And I think that both guys will eventually come out of this Jericho learning tree thing as bigger stars and with the potential to achieve a lot more in AEW because of it. So, like, I want to look at it from that perspective a little bit too, not just like the Jericho, people thinking he's being selfish and winning the ROH title and blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to keep it real. Like, who even, I don't want to say this, but you know what I'm saying? Like, does anyone even care who the Ring of Honor champions are? Like, at all?
Well, this is the problem, though, Jensen, is like, no, people don't care because they haven't put anything into it. And that's why people are upset. Like, I understand that frustration is they're not on television. They're not on ROH, on Honor Club. They've made people not care. I don't think this is a good thing.
Yeah, I think shit's fake outrage, though, to be honest, because I think most of the people complaining about it don't watch Ring of Honor anyways.
No, that's not true. The people I see complaining anyway, people like Kimmy, people like Kate, they watch Ring of Honor.
Well, of course, they cover Ring of Honor.
Yes, but I do think a lot of people watch the show, and that's why they're so upset. But they've turned off viewers because these people aren't on the show. It's not fake outrage of, oh, Chris Jericho's the champion. They were upset when Mark Briscoe was the champion and not wrestling on the show ever. And now it's Chris Jericho. Yeah, he's probably not going to be on these shows.
Oh, no, I doubt he will either. But I also don't think anyone really knew or cared Atlantis was the TV champion. And now the Brian Cages, he's just like part of a tag team in the learning or in the Don Callis.
Yeah, but that's why people are upset.
Oh, no, I understand that they're upset. I'm just saying, like, nothing is changing with Jericho being the champion. Like, it's been like this the whole time. Like, it was like this when Briscoe was the champion too. It's not Jericho's not ruining this. None of this is Jericho's fault. Like, they can be upset that Jericho's the champion now, but it was already, Ring of Honor was already in the state that it was pre-Jericho getting the title. Like, I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. I just think that, like, Jericho is not the problem.
I don't know if Jericho is the problem, but Jericho's not going to be a solution either. That's also an issue. Is they're putting the title on Jericho. He's probably not going to show up on Ring of Honor. At least with Mark Briscoe, he was wrestling some matches on the show more recently. The other issue is like, okay, you put the title on Jericho, you don't have anybody showing up. You have the title on Brian Cage, the television champion. Meanwhile, he's on a tag team with Lance Archer. Like, what? It devalues ROH weekly. Like, why are you going to watch these shows? Why are you going to get invested in any of these people where they're never going to get a title shot? They're just going to give the title shot to an AEW person. And that's it. When Brian Cage got the match against Atlantis Jr., people are like, well, why? Why is Brian Cage getting this? There's been no actual story here with Brian Cage. The only real thing going on in Ring of Honor is Athena. That's it.
Yeah. And listen, and that's why I hate saying what I'm saying, because I like Athena a lot and I love Billy Starks. Like, there are people, actually, I love a lot, because they also, Ring of Honor gives chances to a lot of indie talent that I like as well. Guys like Jack Cartwheel get in there. Like Alec Price was in there not long. I mean, like there's a lot of wrestlers that I'm just trying to keep it real as far as like, I don't think many people are paying attention to Ring of Honor. And I think that the people that are have reason to be upset, but they shouldn't be the upset in it, whatever you want to call it, the hate or whatever, shouldn't be directed at Chris Jericho. Like it's not he's not booking himself to win the Ring of Honor title. He's
not booking himself to win the Ring of Honor title, but let's be honest about Chris Jericho's influence. And if he wants to do something, they're probably going to go along with it. I think Chris Jericho probably said, yeah, let me work with Mark Briscoe. Hey, why don't I go for the ROH title? And if Chris Jericho doesn't want to do something, they'll go along with it. This is not, Tony Khan is just saying, hey, yeah, this is what we're going to book. And nobody has any say about it. Like, Chris Jericho's Chris Jericho. If he doesn't want to do something, he can say no. If he wants to do something, he can influence that.
Right. Chris Jericho is Chris Jericho, because still to this day, he's one of the biggest stars that the company has. So they're going to use him. Like, I think it's probably better that he's doing this with the Ring of Honor title than going after the AEW World title or the International title. Like, he's not just going to be on the show not doing anything. That's why they had him win the FTW thing.
But why does he have to go after any title? Why can't he just exist?
I mean, is that really? I don't have a problem with going after titles. So like that's
they got so many that
right.
I mean, basically every the title anyway.
Exactly, I know, and that's a problem in itself, which I've talked about. I talk about almost every week how I think AEW has too many titles. So I definitely agree with that there. And I think like people saying that Jericho's star is power is fading. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Like, I think that it overall it is like a lot of the good faith that he had when AEW started has gone away in a lot of ways. I totally get that. 5 years is still a long time. I mean, it's a short time and a long time, depending on how you look at it. But like AEW's been around for 5 years. Jericho was crucial to them signing with Turner and the success of the company at the beginning with him as their first world champion. And back when that was happening and back pre-AEW, back when Jericho was doing his in and out runs in the WWE and when he went to New Japan and stuff, the fan base was all over him. They loved him. Like Chris Jericho did not get this kind of hate at all for a very long time. For the first like 25 years of his career, he was pretty much universally liked in the wrestling community. And you know, now people just feel like he's overstayed his welcome, and a lot of them don't like him as a human being for different reasons and stuff too, which I think unfortunately also bleeds into the show. And it's not just him; that happens with other wrestlers too. But it's one of those things where, like, if he's on their roster and he's getting paid what he's getting paid, they're going to use him. They're not going to just like not have him on the show. So they have 1 trillion titles between Ring of Honor and AEW. It makes sense that Jericho's involved. Like, that was the reason I think he was involved with the FTW title, because it was a pretty inconsequential title on the show. Like, out of all the titles, it probably was valued the least. And they had him involved in that. Now, I'd say the same. I'd say the Ring of Honor World title is probably on about the same, level as the Ring of Honor World title and the FTW title was. Like, I mean, and I don't even like saying that, because historically speaking, I've liked Ring of Honor. I was a fan of theirs in the early 2000s. You know what I mean? Like, we used to do the show, me, you, and Joseph. We used to do that. Remember we do the honor hour. Remember that? Like we were repping Ring of Honor when Ring of Honor was like, no one knew it was the future of the company. Like, so I'm not even like one of these people that hates Ring of Honor. I've actually loved Ring of Honor. But my thing is this current state of Ring of Honor, I don't think many people care about. And I think a lot of people who don't even watch the show complain about it on Twitter, just like a lot of people on Twitter complain about fucking everything, the nonstop, wake up in the morning and tweet until they fall asleep. And part of what they're doing is complain about Ring of Honor and complain about Chris Jericho. Like,
okay, but Ring of Honor is on ROH television now. So it is part of AEW. It is taking up AEW time. So even if they don't watch weekly Ring of Honor, maybe they don't care about weekly Ring of Honor, well, now it's bleeding into the AEW show. So why does it have to bleed over to the AEW show? Why can't it just be on Ring of Honor? And if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to.
I completely agree. What's that have to do with Chris Jericho?
He's the champion.
Yeah, but I mean, but I don't think it matters I don't think it matters. I think
he's the champion on an AEW show, taking up AEW time.
Well, he's going to be on AEW either way.
Then have him do some AEW
either way.
Why does he have to have the
either
ROH
way?
title?
Well, that's a whole other conversation, though. Like the Ring of Honor Championship shouldn't be involved in AEW, which I completely agree with you about. But they are. They still are. So, like, they're going to challenge if something like I don't know what else to say. Like, I mean, it's like I don't know. Like I mean, listen, I think I understand what you're saying, and I understand why people are upset. I guess I just don't get that mad about it, because at the end of the day, I just don't think like Ring of Honor titles, in my opinion, should have nothing to do with AEW television. All right, let's put it out there. I don't think it should have anything to do with the show, but they do. So, like, I mean, I'm sure they have better options for the Ring of Honor. Who would you rather see be the Ring of Honor champion right now? Like, who? Let me ask you this question: who would draw people to watch Ring of Honor? Let's say Chris Jericho, bad idea. Mark Briscoe, we all love Mark Briscoe, but we're still saying the same stuff about the show and the titles being like Ring of Honor is still in the same state it was before Mark Briscoe had the championship. And I love Mark Briscoe. Okay, so like, let's say Jericho's a bad idea. Let's take the title off Chris Jericho right now. Who should it go to, and how does that help Ring of Honor?
How does Chris Jericho help?
No, but like who? But who does? Who's the best option?
Will Osprey.
Do you think Will Osprey should be Ring of Honor champion?
If they want to build Ring of Honor into something, and if they insist on making it part of AEW, then yeah, Will Osprey. If they're going to keep Ring of Honor separately, then I'd build Ring of Honor guys.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. I just don't know how realistic it is that they'd put the Ring of Honor World title on Will Osprey. I think that Jericho's in this weird spot where, like, he's getting a lot of hate on Ring of Honor. They don't want him challenging for, like, on AEW. They don't want him challenging for major AEW championships, which it makes sense, and I get it. But, like, they have this whole other set of title belts, so they're like, all right, well, you know.
Here's the thing. Didn't they tried this with Jericho, though? When they put the belt on him 2 years ago at Grand Slam, they had him beat Claudio. And it's like, oh, they put the title on him because it's part of a TV deal. They're getting a TV deal. This is what it's all about, the TV deal. And then they just ended up on ROH on Honor Club. That's it. And it's the same thing here. Oh, they're putting the title on him because ROH is going to be on True TV or whatever. It's all part of the TV deal. How'd that work last time?
Right. I don't think it would have mattered who the champion was. They're in the state that they're in, I think, regardless. But I also agree with a lot of the people in the chat saying then have him just compete just on Ring of Honor. That's fine with me too. Like if the plan is Jericho Ring of Honor exclusive when he's the champion and he's not an AEW at all, I really don't have a problem with that. I think I think the two brands should be separate. Like you know what I mean? I think people probably getting the wrong idea about what I'm saying because I'm like pretty passionately kind of calling out people who complain on the internet all the time about stuff. And I'm also kind of defending Chris Jericho, which people don't like. But at the same time, like, I agree with a lot of what y'all are saying, but those are like non-Christian. A lot of this is non-Chris Jericho problems. They're Ring of Honor and AEW merging too much and being on the show too much problems. All the, like, this stuff we can all agree about. So I don't. That's where I'm at, I guess. Like if they, I would have no problem at all if Chris Jericho was only on Ring of Honor going forward. But I don't. And to answer your question, I don't think like more people are going to watch Ring of Honor now because he's a champion versus when Mark Briscoe is the champion. But I also think you could say that you could insert any wrestler's name into that, and it's going to be the same result. unless maybe it was like a Will Osprey, which actually might, if Will Osprey was Ring of Honor champion, I think more people probably would tune in. So like there probably are people who could help Ring of Honor draw better than Chris Jericho could as the Ring of Honor champion right now. So I'll agree with all that. Keyshawn says less people might watch because he's champion. That's possible. If that happens, then if they can prove, I'll give you all this. If they can definitively prove that, like if they can show ratings or streaming numbers or whatever of less people tuning in the next few weeks of Ring of Honor with Jericho as the champion, I'll come on here and say, y'all were 100% right. It was just a bad idea across the board. Like if they actually lose fans in Ring of Honor because of Chris Jericho, but if things stay exactly the same as they were before.
There's no way to prove this, though. It's not like they post streaming numbers for anything. Nobody's going to be able to prove this. It's a fake argument.
Okay. Well, then they can't prove it the other way either, that he's drawing people, that he's turning people away, or that it's a bad idea, or that it's bad for their business then.
And they can't prove that he's helping business either. So
yeah. So I guess I guess it is what it is.
D'Lo Dick says, I cared for ROH when they came back, and as someone that loved ROH back then they don't show It Matters outside of Athena, in my opinion, and that's why I stopped watching. I mean, that's a lot of people have stopped watching because they haven't put any type of care into it.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I can't say enough good things about Athena and Billy Starks. Once again, I think that like there's been good things about Ring of Honor. And listen, do I think Chris Jericho is the best option for the Ring of Honor champion? No. I don't know exactly why they're doing this either, outside of I don't think they have anything for him really on the AEW show outside of the learning tree stuff. Like it probably would have been smarter to have like Brian Keith win the Ring of Honor championship and go just defend it a bunch over there and have Big Bill like helping him out or something. Like,
yeah, that would have been great. I mean, I don't need Big Bill interfering all the time, but
I'm just saying, like, he would be a part of the act or whatever, with the learning tree. But yeah, I mean, like, listen, I could overall in a perfect world, it would be better if someone, like I saw someone in the chat, it might have been Chi-Town Spurs or Keyshawn, which I appreciate y'all in the chat, by the way. Even if you disagree with me, I appreciate y'all giving your input. I saw someone mention Shane Taylor. I'd have no problem with Shane Taylor getting pushed to the world title. The guy's been a part of Ring of Honor forever. And I remember when he came in, like when him and Keith Lee were a team and stuff. And I remember when Shane Taylor came into Ring of Honor and people had like really no expectations for him. He was like a big dude who like seemed kind of athletic and like, it's like, well, we'll see how this goes. The team with Keith Lee was kind of cool and stuff. And he, I think, turned out to be one of the best like overall signings they've had like in history, honestly, because he's stuck around. He keeps getting better. He has good matches. Like I would have no problem with someone like Shane Taylor getting this push and becoming the Ring of Honor champion. And I agree with everybody that this stuff should be all on Ring of Honor and that they should push people within the Ring of Honor brand and not Chris Jericho. I just think that a lot of the Chris Jericho hate is just kind of misplaced because I think they could have taken a lot of people on the AEW roster and had them beat Mark Briscoe, and we'd be saying a lot of the same kind of stuff of like, well, this guy's never going to be on Ring of Honor. Well, this guy's never going to be defending the title. Well, this guy's going to drive fans away. I understand a lot of people specifically do not want this for Chris Jericho. They don't want him doing stuff on the show. They're sick of him. They don't want him on the show anymore. Doesn't matter what he's doing. Just a lot of people just want him to go away. So there's nothing I can say to really like argue or fix that. I think a lot of people have made their mind up that they're tired of him, which I also understand. He's been around for over 30 years. He's old. He's not the same guy he was when he was Y2J. It's the times have changed, but I'm still a fan of his for the most part, but it is what it is.
Chi-Town Spurs says give ROH to Jeff Jarrett. That's the correct call.
Listen, I don't even hate that idea. Like, actually, Jeff Jarrett Ring of Honor champion doesn't seem like a terrible idea. Honestly, that actually might be kind of a good idea. But also, you could a lot of the things that I said about Chris Jericho, you can kind of also say about Jeff Jarrett.
Jarrett, he's not on television every single time like that. That's why I think Jeff Jarrett has gone from like when he first debuted, and people like, oh God, what is Jeff Jarrett doing here? to Jeff Jarrett, like he's fine. One, I think the Hangman feud was actually good.
Yeah, same, sure.
The stuff with Danielson was actually good, and Jeff Jarrett just wasn't on TV every week. Jeff Jarrett understood, whether it was his own choice or just the booking choice, he would take weeks off. And so people just accepted that more. He wasn't wrestling every week. He wasn't doing 10, 15-minute promos every single week. Sometimes you do need to take that break. Like, it's okay to take that break.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also, I mean, Jericho knows that better than anyone. He takes years.
He doesn't seem to know that right now.
For whatever reason, he's locked into AEW at the moment. I don't want to tell you. I don't necessarily blame him for, like, if he wants to be that's really more on like Tony Khan, right? Like if people don't want Jericho, like Jericho doesn't run the company. Like, he might have a lot of influence, but he doesn't run the company. So it's not like, if Tony Khan thought he was that bad for their business or he didn't want him involved, he should just book him just on Ring of Honor. But that's not Jericho's fault.
Chris Jericho can say, hey, maybe I should take a break. But
no, he's not. I mean, if he feels like he wants to take a break, then I could see it happening. But I don't see him taking himself out of the game, like voluntarily stepping back.
But
like,
you just
maybe it's the best. Maybe it's the best thing. Maybe it's the best thing for him in the company. But I mean, that's like saying. I mean, I just feel like there's still, there's still probably a level of ego and stuff in Jericho where he doesn't want to just walk away, like when he feels like he can still contribute. But someone might have to sit him down, and like, who is his actual boss might have to sit him down and say, like, hey, I know you want to contribute, but like it's not working how it should be right now. We need to figure things out, and you need to take a break.
See, you just said that Jericho, kind of used to know when to take breaks and everything. And now it feels like he would rather lean into stuff than actually take the break. Because that's where the whole learning tree started.
100%.
Like, I'm starting TV time and all of this. Like,
100%.
He thinks he's leaning into it and getting like good heat by doing this. When in reality, it's not great heat. They got 500 heel factions anyway. It's not like this Chris Jericho faction is some necessary heel faction that they super need and being reliant on. You can put him in there with, look, the Elite are a wink and a nod heel faction. You can throw in any other heel. The BCC, they're the top heel faction. At least they're a serious heel faction, but they're a full-on heel faction. House of Black, I think they're heels. It changes every week, but now Buddy Matthews is stepping to Adam Cole, so I think they're heels. Like, they've got enough factions to where, hey, Chris Jericho can take a break. He'd rather lean into it than actually take that break.
Yeah. And which is, we've talked about that, when the learning tree was forming, how, that's exactly what he was doing. This was the first time in his career, it feels like, where he didn't get out ahead of going stale, where like usually he would leave things before they got lame, like the list of Jericho and stuff like that. Like when that was kind of like at its peak with Kevin Owens is like when he pivoted. He's done that throughout his career. Like something will kind of run its course, and before it can like get lame, he either takes a break or changes his gimmick or whatever. This time it got lame, it got stale, the fans became vocal and he heard it, but instead of walking away to reinvent himself, he's deciding to reinvent himself in front of us, but in the actual gimmick is basically leaning into the hate, which is definitely different. Let me ask you this. Do you think this is a legitimate question? This isn't like an argument or anything. Do you think, like, let's just say hypothetically speaking, Jericho is featured less often on AEW and actually is featured on Ring of Honor. Like, then are y'all pretty much okay with this until Jericho loses the title? Obviously, we'd have to see how the title reign goes, but let's say hypothetically speaking, Jericho actually does pop up in Ring of Honor, and so does Brian Keith and Big Bill, and that leads to maybe Brian Keith getting a push in Ring of Honor or something, like, let's just say something like that goes down. Are things okay? Like maybe he drops the title back to Mark, but Jericho actually contributes to Ring of Honor in that case. Is that but just say hypothetically, Jericho contributes to Ring of Honor and is less featured in AEW during this title reign. Are people more happy with that?
I think people are a little bit more accepting of that. If Chris Jericho is actually featured on ROH television, they probably still don't like that Chris Jericho is the champion, but if it's actually getting the champion on TV and it's getting some type of story on television and it's leading to building up whoever takes the title from him, then yeah, I think people are more accepting of that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think we can all agree on that. So let's just see how this kind of plays out. Now, my assumption is that won't happen. My assumption is Jericho will continue to be a consistent part of AEW, and people will continue to complain, and some of them rightfully so. Okay. I'm not speaking there are people who are legitimate Ring of Honor fans who are ride or die with them, who watch all the Honor Club shows. I mean, I cover the Honor Club spoilers on the Weekenders, so I do keep up with what they're doing. I just don't watch the weekly show because I literally, part of my job for the Weekender is to cover the spoilers. So I'm reading everything before it happens, and then it just takes a lot of the reason for me to watch every single episode out of the way. But I'm still aware of what they're doing on their shows and who's contributing and who's being pushed and stuff like that. So I do follow the product to that degree. But I'm just hoping that it works out all right. I don't honestly don't expect this to be a super long Ring of Honor title reign. I could totally see Jericho dropping it back to Mark, or maybe this is the title that whenever the learning tree starts kind of breaking up, maybe the plan ultimately is to have Big Bill beat Jericho on AEW and Brian Keith beats Jericho for the Ring of Honor title. You know what I mean? I don't know how this is all going to play out, but I think we can all, I understand right now things don't look great and don't seem great, but I think at the end of the day, if a few months from now, we can look back at this and somebody or multiple people did get pushed and things, if things work out, I think we can kind of change our tune a little bit about this. Now, it's also possible that Jericho gets his championship, never shows up on Ring of Honor, hardly ever defends the title, keeps showing up in AEW, and nothing changes. And then if that is the case, then, I'll be right here on this show, just like I am every other week, every Thursday, right here with Jeremy. And I'll say that then. This didn't work,
I'd imagine he's keeping it at least until Final Battle. I hope he actually defends it at Final Battle and it's not some match at World's End, because he's the ROH champion. Defend the title on the ROH pay-per-view.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And like I said, I think Jericho, I think in a perfect situation right now, Chris Jericho should basically be Ring of Honor exclusive. Because I don't think it'd be a bad idea for him to take a break from AEW. I don't think it'd be a bad idea for him to contribute to Ring of Honor. I just think realistically speaking, they're not going to completely take him off of AEW television because he's still Chris Jericho at the end of the day. I just don't think they're going to not use him at all. But as a, I think, we'll let it play out.
Then don't put the ROH title on him if you're not going to take him off of AEW television. Just
right, but we got to say that about all of the AEW champions. And that's got to be the same for Brian Cage. It's got to be the same for all these guys carrying Ring of Honor titles.
Yeah, I don't think Brian Cage should be the television champion when he's teaming with Lance Archer.
I completely agree. So so once again, this isn't specifically a Jericho thing. This is an overall, these title belts should not be involved in the show. Like Brian Cage being the TV champion does nothing for anybody. He beat Atlantis Jr. at Wrestle Dream. He has his title belt. Now he is in a tag team with Lance Archer where this belt is a literal prop. Sammy Guevara came out last night with his tag team title and got murked by Shelton Benjamin. It was a good match. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the match. But that was a showcase match for Shelton Benjamin. And the title belt Sammy Guevara is carrying around, who cares that he has that title on AEW? Nobody. You know what I mean? So this is, once again, this isn't a Jericho thing. This is an ROH thing, an ROH on AEW issue.
Oh, it is. And it's been that way for a while. I don't think Jericho helps is the person, though.
I understand that's what your point of view is, and that's what a lot of people's point of view is. I get that. Nigel McGuinness beats Jericho, says, who likes fig shorts? Is that what that says? Are you talking about I like shorts for your action figures? Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I would like to see Nigel come back. I think Nigel versus Jericho would be interesting. I don't know how good it would be, but it'd be interesting that match, historically speaking, it'd be interesting for that match to have happened. But yeah, and I'm also with you about the heel group thing, by the way, too, 100%. I mean, they got way too many heel factions in AEW. The BCC is by far the best one right now. I mean, by far. So yeah, I know people don't like the whole "let's see how it plays out" thing, but that's I
don't think you could do "let's see how it plays out" here when there's enough history to tell you how it's going to play out. This is I have no problem with people fearing the worst on this. This is not, let's give it the benefit of the doubt. We've literally done this with Chris Jericho. The same person, the same situation, the same title. It was 2 years ago, and we saw how it played out. I can forgive people who are, I don't want to say jaded, but who are pessimistic of how this is going to go.
Was that already 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was 2022.
Wow. I can't believe that was already 2 years ago. Yeah, I know. I understand why people are pessimistic about it, but I think that they should be pessimistic across the board when it comes to a lot of this, a lot of Ring of Honor and pretty much all.
But they have been they have. Yeah. It's now you've put the title on Chris Jericho, and that doesn't help.
Sure. I don't think it necessarily hurts either. I just think they're in the same position they were when Mark Briscoe was the champion, just Chris Jericho now. If it turns people away, once again, there's no way of proving it one way or another. So I guess there's no point in bringing it up. But if I guess I'll put it this way. I'll keep an eye on the Twitter accounts that I know are good faith, actual Ring of Honor fans who follow the product. And if they hate this title run, then I'll make sure to, I'll note that.
All two of them.
Yeah, right.
They already hate it.
Right. And
I don't think it's good when the Ring of Honor official account is threatening or blue skying that, hey, don't watch it. Take a break then. Not great.
Well, let me put it this way. I'm very proud to say I have no idea what Blue Sky even is. I guess I've heard I've heard of it, I guess, but I don't even know. It's like a social media. Whose social media is that? Like, who owns the platform? Any idea? Or is it just
the former people who created Twitter?
Oh, okay, so they did their own thing with Blue Sky, and then there's Threads, which is an Instagram thing. I don't even have an Instagram. So these are also all. This is kind of the beauty of being not really online. I check in with Twitter and stuff because I need to know certain stuff going on, right? But I'm just not a part of this online discourse anymore of getting so upset over wrestling, I guess, at the end of the day. But I understand that. I know there's a lot of people that don't want Chris Jericho to be the Ring of Honor champion. It is noted. All right. I know y'all are not happy right now with this. Let's let it play out, but I'm sure it won't be very good.
I can't do the let it play out. Jon Moxley killed Chuck Taylor at the end of the show.
This was good stuff. So okay. This is something I think we can all probably universally agree with. Maybe not. Who knows? But the Blackpool Combat Club, this heel group, this has been pretty great. I like the presentation of the group. I like how Moxley cut that promo in the desert. I like that they're traveling around in the back of this pickup truck. It has, I know the obvious comparison is NWO, which I think that there are things about it that obviously the presentation is different. You're not getting the black and white, this whatever paid for by the New World Order, promos and stuff like we used to get. But it's similar in theory, where it's non-traditional, like their presentation is different than everything else that's going on at the show. I'll just put it that way. And I think that's smart, and I think it's working. Excuse me. There's a lot of this. I'm probably gonna miss certain stuff, but like I loved even to the point where the baby faces are standing outside the arena waiting for them, which has kind of the vibes of like back when NWO started and they were like attacking people outside and lawn darted Mysterio into the trailer and stuff. Like we're seeing footage from outside of the arena expecting a brawl, and the baby faces are waiting all show for the heels to show up so they can attack them and get them before they can get attacked. I love how the Dark Order, like John Silver's got nunchucks, and Alex Reynolds, I'm not sure what he had, but it looked like one of those like Jamaican walking sticks. Have you ever like gone to like on like a cruise or like a so I have one of these things from Jamaica. I have one in my room still to this day. It's like a hand carved walking stick that you would get like while you're like doing like an excursion. Like, you know, you meet the people in town and you barter with them or whatever. And they, you know, and I remember buying like this like Jamaican walking stick that looked kind of similar to what Alex Reynolds was holding. And it's just like, so that kind of stuff is funny to me. Like it's serious because they're looking for a fight and they want to defend AEW, but they still are the goofy Dark Order where like even their weapons are kind of funny, you know? Now, I know there's going to be people who don't necessarily like that, by the way, because they probably want this to be more serious because, you know, but I think it's fine when you have, if this was just the Dark Order versus the BCC, I would agree because I'd be like, no, this is too unserious for the BCC. Like, but since it's only like a couple, like, you know, Dark Order is like 3 people at this point in this story. And then you have the rest of the baby faces. There's like 10, 12 people out there. So I think it's fine. So there's all that. Then you have the layer of Orange Cassidy, who was the person that Moxley was referring to in his promo about how they were going to take something from somebody on the show, a little piece of somebody. Chuck Taylor is a guy I've been a fan of for a very long time. He's one of the most important people in the history of PWG. And, you know, people might not know, like he trained Ricochet, he trained Orange Cassidy, he trained Wheeler Yuta. You know, so it's like Chuck Taylor doesn't get the credit he probably deserves in the grand scheme of things, especially for like a lot of the independent talent who's currently on TV in WWE and AEW. He's got a lot of history with a lot of these guys and helped a lot of them out along the way. And so it's cool that he's a part of this story too, because most people just kind of know him as a part of Best Friends, which I think is a really great tag team as well. I would have liked to see them win the AEW tag titles. But I think it's cool that they were able to incorporate Chuck Taylor into this story because of his history with Orange Cassidy and his history with, with Wheeler Yuta, because Wheeler Yuta was in the ring when Claudio stomped that chair onto Chuck Taylor's neck. And it's like Wheeler had to watch his trainer had that happen to him right in front of his eyes. So and they did that the same thing with, honestly, and I don't think this is where it's going, but you could almost look at this storyline as there's a possible swerve potentially with the story where the person that they've been taking things away from could be Yuta also, because they've done this to Danielson in front of him and to Chuck in front of him at this point. So it's like they're almost torturing Yuta. You know what I mean? So it's like that's something we need to keep in mind as well. Yuta eventually did join up with them, but it could be this could be something that's deeper with Yuta as well. I don't think it's a coincidence that he was right there in the ring watching all of this happen to Taylor and to Danielson, and they mentioned on commentary that Taylor had trained Yuta. So I think there's more to it with Yuta. And obviously with Orange Cassidy, the same kind of thing. They're attacking people that are close to Orange Cassidy. I think it's pretty obvious we're going to get Orange Cassidy versus Jon Moxley soon for the World Championship, which I'm looking forward to. They had a great match for the International Championship years back. So like, and I'm probably even missing stuff along the way, but I don't know where Pac was last night. I don't think I saw him. But yeah, so how do you feel? I know there was a lot to unpack. I mentioned a lot of stuff, but I really dig this whole story with the BCC right now.
Yeah, this was about the only thing on the show last night that I thought had like any real juice. The show I didn't think was great overall. I think the crowd was good either, and at some point it becomes, which is it, the crowd or the show? There's just not a whole lot to react to. But this actually got the crowd to wake up a little bit, and I like them standing in the parking lot, like, all right, we're gonna jump these guys when they get here. And then only really Marina showed up and they snuck in through the back door. They should have covered all the exits a little bit better instead of just the one entrance there. But this I thought was good stuff overall. And I'm very curious to see how it continues to go. I like the taking out Chuck Taylor because Orange Cassidy is saying, I'm not a leader. Like, I'm not that guy. And then they're basically going to force him to be that guy. And yeah, we're going to get the Orange Cassidy Jon Moxley match, which I'm looking forward to as well. There's still the elite factor of where do they fit in with all this, because they're just kind of idly watching by and like, oh, this doesn't concern us type of thing. And we'll see how, if and when they get involved and how they get involved. I think this is a long-term thing with this storyline, and I continue to look forward to following it. I do think there are some little things of certain people can just say some lines during promos to give more gravity to the situation instead of it living just with kind of the Daniel Garcias and the private parties and the top flight and people. I wish other people would give it a little bit more like, oh yeah, these guys are kind of ruining everything for it. We got to watch our back here. Like, clearly they're not targets. I'm talking like an Adam Cole or something. Like, Kyle O'Reilly's out in the parking lot, but then he's just watching on as Adam Cole and Roderick Strong do their little promo. Like, I wish it would thread a little bit more with other people to give it more gravity, but I understand, you know, they just don't do that with this. I just wish they would. Shotdown Spurs mentioning Fletcher stuff was good. Opening match was great. Like, I thought Shelton Benjamin and Sammy Guevara was a great match. I thought it was a good showcase for Shelton. I liked the Fletcher promo. I thought it was overall fine. The crowd just didn't really seem to care until he shaved his head. And I thought Fletcher did a good job of like winning them back because they were really ready to turn on that thing. But I still think overall the show, it felt longer than it typically does. Like at 9:15, I was like, man, this show is dragging right now. Like it felt like a longer show than typically Dynamite does. A lot of weeks Dynamite will really fly by. And like when I looked up and saw it was only 9:15, I was like, man, this show doesn't feel like a whole lot's happening right now.
Yeah, there was something I was gonna mention with with the crowd. But so that was another thing too, and was it a light crowd? Like, it just felt like some of the stuff, like there was just no, like when Rocky Romero came out, like it was like the crowd didn't know who he was. You know what I mean? Like just no
the crowd
noise
didn't
at
care
all.
about
Like,
that, or Ishii coming out.
yeah, that was bad. That was all. Why would Ishii even come out after the match? Like, why wouldn't he? I saw Confirmed Shoot on Twitter actually say this, which I thought was a really funny. I retweeted it. I thought, like Ishii. So if I was Ishii, I would have come out during the match before all that happened to prevent Jericho from winning. And it's like, yeah, that would have made a lot more sense. That whole, no pop for Ishii, no pop for Rocky. It was right after the Jericho thing, which a lot of people weren't wanting to see happen to begin with. So. Yeah, it just felt like the crowd, and I'm not saying it's them specifically either. It's been, I don't know how many people were in attendance. And I know that's been somewhat of a consistent problem for AEW. That I'll definitely, I think, they do need more people in the crowd to make more noise. But yeah, there was just certain stuff on the show last night where like it wasn't. I guess my point was it wasn't just the Kyle Fletcher thing. You know what I mean? Like, there was a lot where it was like they're just not making any noise at all right now, which is kind of a bummer. But I do agree. Like, I thought that the opening match was great. I thought that the Kyle Fletcher stuff was great. I thought it was funny that like he just like won't get rid of all of his hair though. He like shaved like part of it. Then I saw like a promo afterwards where he kept shaving it and like it was still a lot of it was left. And it's like, I doubt that's the look he's going for is like the
I think he eventually got it all.
Oh, hopefully. But I think it's smart. He's like, because he did vibe very much like a Will Osprey when he had the hairstyle and everything. He looked a lot like Osprey. The thing with Kyle Fletcher that I didn't realize until more recently is how much bigger he is than Osprey, like physically larger. Like Kyle Fletcher is a big dude. And he's a guy who I've been saying for a long time, even back when he was teaming with Mark Davis. I remember I was obviously aware of his work for years at this point, but like through, the stuff he'd done in New Japan and whatnot. But like when I was at AEW in Atlanta, this was years back already, because it was the show where Punk had his last Collision match. It was like that big 8-man tag with like Sting and Darby and him. I remember that vividly because Kyle Fletcher was on that show, and I think he was still I think Mark Davis was still, I don't think he was injured yet, because I remember turning to my buddy live and being like, remember this guy. I was like, Kyle Fletcher, this guy is going to be a massive star. Like him, you could just tell for a long time. And now it just feels like he's putting it all together. He's getting a big push. He's got a great look. He's very, very, very good in the ring. He's going to have some bangers with Osprey. And Osprey is probably going to put him over. Like, I don't think that Osprey will ultimately like lose the feud, but I think that like he will at least lose one match to Fletcher. So yeah, I'm with y'all 100% on, I think that if I was AEW, I would push Kyle Fletcher too.
Yeah, we'll see how far they go with the Kyle Fletcher push. I would imagine Will Ospreay will lose a match to him. And then if that happens, what happens next? Like, does Fletcher win the overall feud? Does Will Ospreay come back and win the feud? Even if Fletcher loses the feud, where does he go after that? Because obviously the Ospreay stuff is going to be very hot. But a lot of times they have something hot, and then the follow-up to that is not as good. And it's tough to maintain a lot, but then there's a difference between maintaining and then devaluing and basically, okay, now he's going to go after. I think he'll be in the Continental Classic. I think he should be in the Continental Classic. I think that would be a good showcase for him if he is. But, a lot of times we've talked about it on this show. I've talked about it on other shows. Too many people just move sideways in AEW when they should be moving up. And Will Ospreay's way up here. So once you feud with a guy like that, you got to maintain way up here instead of drifting down into no man's land.
Yeah, you're 1,000,000% accurate with all of that. The AEW has done a lot of what you just said about getting somebody elevated only to immediately fall into obscurity. I do not want to see that happen to Kyle Fletcher. I don't want to see it happen to anybody, but since we're talking about Kyle Fletcher, that's all, I just, the reason I think that overall Osprey is going to have to win the feud because they have big plans for Osprey. Clearly, like unless some unforeseen crazy something or other happens, like an injury or just something, but obviously I'm not trying to will into existence. Like I don't want anything to happen, but unless something catastrophic happens, it's pretty clear that AEW wants Will Ospreay to be their world champion sometime in the foreseeable future. So I doubt he loses a feud to Kyle Fletcher, but I do think he loses at least a match to him, because that's another thing where Ospreay and his real life friendship, Ospreay is going to want Fletcher to succeed on his own. So like I could definitely see Fletcher getting at least a win over Osprey, which would be big for him, especially if no one else is really getting wins over Osprey. I know Osprey's lost a little bit in recent memory, but we're talking a long-term story here with him and Kyle Fletcher. So that's another one where it's like, let's let it play out. I think people could be a little more optimistic about this one playing out than the Jericho thing. The Jericho thing playing out, that could go a whole bunch of different ways that people aren't going to like. The Osprey Kyle Fletcher stuff, I feel like they'd have to really, really fumble this for it to be, because at the end of the day, they're going to have fantastic matches. So they just have to make sure the storyline doesn't completely suck, basically, because the matches are going to deliver.
I think the story is already good. Like, I didn't like the start of Osprey or Kyle Fletcher's promo of, you people made me turn on this person. But then he really picked it up, and by the end of it, I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, I think it'll be good. Hopefully, the Don Callis stuff can go really one of two ways, and it could end up not being so great. And you got to factor in kind of Callis still taking side with Takeshi there. I think it'll be good overall. I'm definitely way more optimistic about that than the Chris Jericho stuff.
Who likes fig shorts says Don Callis has experience managing big guys. Kurgan was great. Has to be a good sign for Kyle. Man, that's a callback to the Jackal days.
Yeah,
that's a. Or was that the Jackal days, or was that the Oddity days?
No, he was the Jackal. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was also in the Oddities, wasn't he? Didn't they?
I don't think so. It was Truth Commission. No, it was Truth Commission.
It was just Truth Commission. I couldn't remember if the Callis wasn't. Callis might have been an ECW by the time the Oddities came around, or maybe close. But he was Truth Commission. I'm getting that the time. I definitely remember him and Kurgan, but then Kurgan also was in Oddities. That's why I was making that connection. But I always liked the Oddities, by the way. That theme song was a banger. I'm unironically a fan of the Insane Clown Posse. Like, I know a lot of people hear me say that think I'm a psychopath, but I respect their grind. All these years, no radio play, they were being canceled before the word cancel existed. Like that, they've been getting people coming after them, wanting them to go away for 3 decades, and they keep trucking along.
Justified.
Well, anyways. If you want a more violent Jay, you can see him in GCW occasionally, as well as the NWA. So, Juggalo Championship Wrestling too.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Samantha Irvin has left WWE. This was announced on Monday afternoon. She kind of posted a big statement saying her time was done, and then Lillian Garcia was back on Raw. Depending on, there was a couple reports saying it was kind of abrupt, and she was just kind of let everybody know the day before. She clarified and said, nope, they knew months before. It might be two sides to the story on the timeline here. I'm going to trust her side that she informed them months ago. It did seem kind of abrupt though, because usually, I don't want to say usually, but for people like Caleb Braxton and others, they've done like, hey, a final show kind of goodbye. And Samantha Irvin didn't do any final show kind of goodbye. She got a brief mention on Raw, and that was it. So it did seem abrupt, but if she let them know months in advance and they had plans, and this is how they handled it, and doesn't feel like they handled it very well. But what were your thoughts when Samantha Irvin decided announced she was leaving WWE?
So I said this on Twitter, but I saw the announcement when it came through, and I was at the casino. I commented under her statement, and I legitimately believe this. I said something like, her call at WrestleMania this year when Cody won the WWE Championship, that was my favorite moment in the history of me watching wrestling. I've been watching wrestling for over 30 years. Y'all know my history and, how bad I wanted to see Cody win that championship. And when he won that title and her call of that, where she's, holding back tears, that's my favorite moment in wrestling history. And she heavily contributed to the overall, everything happening that night. I even saw guys like Michael Buffer. It was either Michael Buffer or Bruce Buffer. I think it was Michael. Maybe both of them. I saw them giving Samantha props.
Yeah, Michael Buffer definitely said something about the call.
And Michael Buffer is, he's pretty much the GOAT. Bruce has kind of surpassed him in a lot of ways after all these years in the UFC, but those two brothers, it's high praise when those guys are reaching out to you personally and saying like, hey, you are incredible at this, or like saying publicly, man, I'm bummed out that she's leaving. Like, why is she leaving? She's the best, And I agree I think she did a fantastic job as the ring announcer for WWE. I think that it's possible with maybe a little abrupt because of, kind of what you were mentioning. And also Lillian's Lillian's reaction, like on social media and stuff, she seems very taken back as well, almost like, I can't believe this is happening, right? Like I'm back full time. I didn't expect this to happen. And so yeah, so the first thing I'll say on this, on as far as Samantha Irvin, thank you, Samantha. If you ever happen to see this, thank you very much. Like, you did a great job with the WWE, and you know, you added to the Cody Rhodes moment, which, you know, I thank you for. I think she did an awesome job. It's a big loss for the WWE, but luckily for the WWE, they filled her shoes with another GOAT in Lillian Garcia. Like, I love Lillian. I got an autograph 8x10 of hers behind me, as a matter of fact. Like, I am a Lillian Garcia fan. She did a great job with like PFL and stuff too, like in between wrestling runs. She's a great ring announcer. I know that she was a little choked up when she first came back on Raw. I saw like her first call. She was kind of fumbling through it a little bit. She even admitted that herself. But it was just the emotion. That's being a human being. I'm not going to fault somebody for that. Like, they're overcome with emotion. That's got to be so surreal to have this much time off. Probably got a call within like the last week or two, and all of a sudden, like, you're back in front of millions of people every week, getting to announce for the WWE. I mean, she's the best choice, honestly. Like, there's nobody. If you were to tell me right now Samantha Irvin's leaving and we have no idea who the replacement's going to be, who would you choose? I would immediately say Lillian Garcia. Like, it wouldn't even be a thought. So they got the best person too, in my opinion, that they possibly could have. So luckily for the WWE and for the fan base, they're not going to miss a beat, because Lillian's going to do her thing and be incredible. And Samantha, it sounds like she wants to do, I don't know if this is legit or not, but I saw something about her maybe wanting to do music or outside projects and stuff, which if she wants to, she'll be able to now. And obviously she's tied to Ricochet. So, you know, there's a lot of speculation that she could wind up in AEW. And even if she winds up in AEW, they'd probably give her the freedom to do outside stuff if that's what she wants. And I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth or whatever. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, for whatever reasons Samantha has for leaving the WWE, she's incredibly talented and she could be super successful outside of the WWE. So it's not like one of those things where, like, I'm worried for the person for leaving. Like, I think it seems like she made the decision to leave, or like her contract ran up or whatever, right? And like, she's like, didn't resign, whatever the case was. It wasn't like she had like a fit with the company, burned a bridge and left forever. Like, you know, she could come back maybe at some point in the future. I mean, I see nothing wrong with this. This is just business and people wanting to, plus also it's people's prerogatives. Like, imagine if your passion in life was like, you really wanted to be, this is hypothetical, but like, you really wanted to be a musician. You love music, you love wrestling, you love your husband, you got all these things going for you in the world. And on top of that, you've made hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars working for the biggest pro wrestling company in the world. Now you have the freedom to do what you want. Like, not everybody has to sit there and grind. Like, now you got money and you can sit back and be like, I've got money. My husband's got money. Like, what do I really want to do for the next, 2, 3, 5 years? You got the freedom to do that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I thought she was great as the ring announcer. I was a little surprised that she had been there for a shorter period as she had been there. When I saw it was only like 3 years, I was like, wait, really? Like, I thought she'd been there at least 5. Like, you could have told me she'd been there for a decade. I would have been like, yeah, I believe that too. But she was great in her short time there, and now she can go and pursue whatever she wants. Ricochet said she's not coming to AEW. Obviously, that could change. Who knows? Lives are lives. You never know. But I look forward to seeing what she does next. And it is a loss for WWE, because I do think she was very good at what she did. And Lillian Garcia is a good replacement. I don't know if she's going to be a permanent replacement for years to come. I think they'll probably try to get someone new in there and see, and not necessarily even a fresh voice, but Lillian is just, I was surprised. Like, she still looks great for her age. It doesn't look like she's aged at all, but like, she's 58. Like, she is just an older, person, and the voice goes when it goes. And I don't know how much longer she can kind of maintain that at 58. Maybe she can keep going for years. I really don't know. But I think they might want to go with someone who's a little bit younger moving forward.
Yeah, and they might do that eventually. You know, they might do it soon. I don't know how long Lillian's going to be there, but on top of the voice thing, it's the travel, right? I mean, I think it's a lot.
Michael Buffer is 79, Bruce Buffer is 67. Like, they're old and they still got the pipes to deliver when they need to deliver. So Lillian Garcia, it's very possible she could do this for another 20 years if she decides to do that. Voices are strange. Again, don't know how they fully work when you're using them to that capacity that often. And people are just different. Some people can perform as long as they need to perform, and they take care. Obviously, I assume Lillian takes very good care of her vocal cords and things like that. But it's also possible that one wrong warm up and one wrong belt, and then her voice is more shot than she was suspecting.
Sure. Yeah. And like I said, I think the travel is I'd be more concerned about the travel than her actual voice at the moment. And she might love traveling. I just think that I'd imagine that just gets harder the older you get, like having to city to city to city to city and all. I mean, it's hard. It's hard on the wrestlers, obviously. But I'm happy. I was very happy to see Lillian Garcia back. I was shocked. I shouldn't say shocked. I had in the back of my mind ever since Ricochet left that it was a possibility that Samantha could leave. I'm not saying that the two things are like hand in hand, like because Ricochet left WWE and went to AEW, that's the reason Samantha's leaving. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when Ricochet left, I just had it in the back of my mind, like maybe Samantha will follow him. I mean, we've seen that happen plenty of times in wrestling history where one half of the couple leaves and then the other half winds up leaving not long after. Speaking of, I didn't mention this during the AEW talk, but I've had it on my mind and I wanted to just bring it up there. Let's keep our eyes on Renee Paquette as well throughout all this. Like, she's married to Jon Moxley, who is taking over the client. She's on screen interviewing people. I'm just saying, I'm just saying, like, I feel like it can't be completely ignored that she's involved with this guy who's terrorizing the company.
They have ignored it. That's been a complaint I've had for this, is like Renee has basically ignored the whole thing. And I don't think that is good. I think there should be, again, just some overall more gravity with this stuff. And it's been less jarring the past couple of weeks because the BCC group, like Moxley just came out at the end of the show. But there were some weeks where like they did an attack and then it was Renee, immediately throw to Renee, and she's just like, anyway, here's the conglomeration. It's like, what are we doing here? Your husband just murdered people.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know. I don't know how much that had been like brought up, but it's good to know that has been a talking point, some discourse there, because that's something I just thought of, honestly, just the other week when I was watching this. I was like, it's kind of strange that that Renee is has nothing to do with this, at least up to this point. When her husband, like you said, is literally going out like putting people's heads in plastic bags. And then cut to the conglomeration. That's funny. But yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts on the ring announcer change up. Thank you very much to Samantha Irvin for incredible work, and I'm happy to see. I mean, Lillian Garcia is she's up there. She's on a short list for me of like my favorites. Like, obviously Bruce Buffer is way up there. The dude who does the hot dogs on Coney Island, that guy with the hat, he's pretty great. But MLJ, for MLJ is the man, obviously, and Lillian Garcia is on in that list for me. She's definitely like a top 3, top 5 favorite announcer of all time for me. So I'm happy to see her.
Psycho Wolverine saying, has Roddy said anything about his wife Marina Shafir hanging out with these guys committing crimes yet either? I'm a little more forgiving to the Roddy Marina stuff because they've not played that on television as much as they have Renee and Moxley. Like, that's been an acknowledged relationship on television. I can't recall, maybe it has been with Marina and Roddy, but I don't know if that's been an acknowledged relationship on television. Obviously, fans know but I can forgive it a little bit more if it hasn't been, played on TV before.
That's the exact answer I would have. I mean, I echo everything you just said. That's literally that is the difference. But I understand where Cyclops is coming from, like, because we all know, behind the scenes that they are together, but like Jeremy said, I don't remember.
I do think they did a video package on Roddy and it was mentioned there. It's also very possible that I'm remembering an NXT video package and not an AEW video package.
Yeah. But also, I mean, it's not necessarily the worst idea ever if there was some sort of mention of it or something. Like, I mean, but I don't. It is different. I feel like it is different between the two, but I understand why you would ask that question. That Undisputed Kingdom stuff, man. We're not going to get into all that. We're past AEW talk, but it's another faction that is heels, but is now baby faces, and that is not working at all. So we'll see how that all goes. But
that was a segment where the crowd just didn't care.
They did not care, and it's a bad. I mean, I'll just straight up say what it is. It's a bad stipulation. Like, first to win 3 gets me. This is stupid.
It was a weird stipulation, and then Adam Cole being like, "Yeah, we'll fight 6 guys. We'll fight them all one night." And then Buddy Matthews challenges them, and Adam Cole's like, "What are you challenging me for? Huh? Like, why are we doing this?" Like, dude, you got to win 3 matches. You should be excited. Be like, "Yeah, all right, I first crack here. Let's go."
Yeah, that's so for everybody at the top of the show who was like, "Fuck you, we hate Chris Jericho, and your opinions on us hating Chris Jericho." I think there's a lot we could all agree on, and one of those things is this Undisputed Kingdom thing is not good, and that stipulation is a stupid. That's bad. Anyways, like, imagine like think about where like MJF and Adam Cole was, like how hot that angle was, like pre-injury for both guys, and now we're in this situation where MJF's not even on TV. And they're making it to where it's a friendly competition between Roderick Strong and Adam Cole. First to 3 gets a match against MJF. This is dumb.
They got to start dragging people out there of like, all right, let's go, let's wrestle. I got to get 3 wins first. Like, we can't be waiting. We need Roddy going to Tony Khan. Like, Tony, you got to book me in 2 matches tonight. I'm down. I'm down in this. And Adam Cole's already got 2 wins. I need matches here.
You're right. They literally should have, like, while they were in the ring, like while Roderick Strong and Adam Cole were in the ring last night, this is when like a Wardlow return or something would have made sense, where he like Wardlow like drag, like literally has like 2 jobbers under each arm and like walks out to the ring and like slides them in the ring, and like they ring, like, you know what I mean? Like, get people in here as fast as possible then, so we can win 3 matches and get to MJF. And also, who in the right mind thinks Roderick Strong is getting the match? Like this is so dumb.
I kind of think Roddy might get the match.
I mean, I guess there's certain ways they can go with that, but doesn't that make Adam Cole look even lamer coming off of? Like, this got to be careful with some of these guys. Like, Adam Cole is too valuable of an asset to AEW to like get him in this position, because I mean, once again, it could have been on the crowd. But I noticed it was a really weak Adam Cole Bebe on the entrance ramp. It was a really weak Boom, and it was a really weak Adam Cole Bebe in the ring. And once again, it might just because there wasn't a lot of fans there, but don't fumble Adam Cole, AEW. That's a big, especially after all this time we waited for him to come back. I just think it's a bad storyline.
I think Roddy's gonna end up winning 3 matches first, honestly. Like, I think they're going to delay Cole and MJF until World's End. End it where it basically started a year ago.
Well, maybe I'm misunderstanding. When does this match? Have they said when the match happens? Whoever wins for 3
Full Gear.
Oh, okay. I keep forgetting. I keep messing up their pay-per-view schedule because I keep thinking about World's End. Okay, I'm going to take back what I said. What I said about anyone in their right mind not thinking that Roderick Strong's got a chance. Because I do think that the MJF and Adam Cole match is going to happen at World's End, because that is when the devil reveal thing happens. So like, I'll run that back. I'll take that one back. But I think we can all agree MJF, Adam Cole World's End.
Trick Williams is facing Ethan Page at NXT Halloween Havoc. Did you see this Ethan Page rap video that he
I
dropped?
saw a little bit of it scrolling Twitter, dude. You're gonna have
It's
to
like
honestly
2 minutes.
You're gonna have to fill me in on what all's going. I know that they've been going for the title against one another for a while, but y'all know me. I cover NXT Level Up, so I'm pretty familiar with what's going on there. But I don't watch the weekly NXT show. So you're gonna have to fill me in a little bit on what you wanted to talk about here between these two. I did see a little bit of the rap though. It seems like the fans have their thoughts on it too. So
Ethan Page is dropping diss tracks. They did a promo segment on Tuesday, and Ethan Page is like, "I'm gonna drag you to hell. I've gone through all of this 17 years, blood, sweat, tears to get to this level. Not for someone like you who've only been here for 3 years, who came over from football, who hasn't really earned anything. I've got my ass whooped all across the country." He does this big, great speech, and Trick Williams is like, "Cool, I'm gonna whoop your ass too." Trick Williams was so dismissive of what Ethan Page had to say. I was like, yeah, sure. Like, Trick Williams should be confident. I thought it was fine, but I saw some people are like, "Oh, Trick Williams he doesn't care enough." Like, I was just like, yeah, Trick Williams should be very confident in his abilities and doing this match. I'm looking forward to it. I do think CM Punk gets involved in this match because Ethan Page continues to reference CM Punk, and I think at some point they're going to do a match against each other. I don't think they're going to continue to do these teases without paying it off. So I would not shock me if CM Punk gets involved in this match.
Well, when that match happens, you imagine that happens on WWE TV, right? Not on NXT. Like, Ethan will come up.
I don't know. Because they got a big show, not Paul White, on Wednesday, the ECW show, the ECW Arena, Wednesday against AEW head to head.
Yeah.
Ethan Page, CM Punk on that show.
Yeah.
That's a draw for people.
That's what they're gonna do. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's literally 2 ex AEW guys against AEW head to head.
They're gonna stack that show.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that makes that. I think you're right on the money with. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, we're also assuming here that like Trick Williams continues to hold the title. Ethan, like, they wouldn't do the NXT title, right? Ethan Page versus CM Punk. Like,
no, because I don't think Punk's taking like a loss or anything.
No, that would be wild if he went to NXT and lost clean to Ethan Page.
I mean, if you want to really make Ethan Page and put him over, you can do that. CM Punk's not going to be really hurt by it. Like, he's CM Punk, he'll be fine. But I don't think they're going to do that.
No, I don't think they're going to do it either, but that'd be wild. Or if CM Punk became the NXT champion, that'd be insane. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that they decided to go with Ethan Page versus CM Punk at all. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, by the way. I was not on my bingo card for this year. This has got to be a real case of Punk really I love Ethan Page. Like, I don't want this to come off like Ethan doesn't deserve this or something. Ethan he's been grinding for decades and also helping a lot of talent along the way with his own promotions and the way that Ethan Page, I got mad respect for Ethan Page, but part of this has got to be CM Punk wants to work with Ethan Page, right? I mean, like, it just seems so random.
Yeah, I would imagine it is CM Punk wants to work with him to some extent, because I think Punk can basically pick and choose what he wants, especially when it comes to like the NXT aspect. WWE, right. He's probably got taken a little bit more direction, but like, he doesn't have to do this NXT stuff. So I imagine he is offered and he can say yes or he can say no to it. So I do think that Ethan Page is partially his call of let me work with Ethan Page.
It's cool. I like that we're getting it. It was just not on my bingo card at all at the beginning of the year. I would have never thought that like CM Punk would be potentially wrestling for NXT, and then also like that's who his opponent would be. But also at the beginning of the year, Ethan Page wasn't in WWE. You know, a lot has changed since the beginning of the year for a lot of people. So yeah. But I do like Trick Williams for what it's worth. He's a guy who, excuse me, when he was like the sidekick of Carmelo Hayes, I was covering Trick Williams because he was doing a lot of matches on NXT Level Up when Carmelo was like first getting like his big singles push. And I was even saying back then, I was like, we got to keep our eyes on Trick Williams. The dude's got great size. He's very athletic and he's learning super fast. Like, I was like, if he gets over, like he could be a star. And like, he got over and he's like the face of NXT and has been for a while now. So, it's cool. It's cool. I like the current state of NXT. Just because I don't watch it weekly, it's not because I dislike the show or it's bad or whatever. It's simply if y'all understood the amount of time it takes for me to do the Weekender, like because of all the shows that I'm covering, usually 10 to 12 indie shows on the, so it's like sometimes a Tuesday night is when I've got to catch up on something else. You know what I mean? I just don't have the, I know it sounds like a cop out. I just flat out don't have the time to watch absolutely everything. And NXT has become a casualty of that for me. It's just not a part of my weekly schedule. But I respect what they're doing on the show, and I respect Shawn Michaels. I think it's wild that it's almost 2025, and like the Click is like running the WWE. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Kevin Nash wanted to, be a part of the, be a part of the creative or be a part of the developmental or X-Pac. Any of these guys, if they wanted to like move to wherever, I guess Orlando still is where they are now, but if it changes to Vegas or whatever, regardless, if these guys wanted to be involved, it's just wild that like the guys we grew up watching as fans who were considered to be these like backstage cancers are like now running the shows, but like the shows are really good. Like it's just kind of wild how, once again, letting it play out. We had to let the Click play out the last 30 years, but look where we're at now, everybody. They're helping the business. And people were saying that NXT is a great show, by the way. I've heard that it's been very, very good. So once again, this is me not watching. It has nothing to do with what I think the quality of the show is. It's simply I cover a lot of independent wrestling, and I've only got so much time in my week as well to watch this stuff. So
a lot happens on the show. Some of it's good, some of it's not so great, but they pack a lot into the overall show in the 2 hours, and sometimes not a lot of stuff breathes, but there's a lot that happens. And again, I think most of it is good. I was gonna say like it's not a lot that breathes, but like it's all bad. It's just too much and overwhelming. They do pack a lot in there, but the majority of it is good. The women's division, certainly, I can't praise that enough. And like they're really going full bore with Julia, Stephanie Becker, Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade's back. They just had Delta Zaria come out on the end of Tuesday's show. I think she's going to be wrestling at Halloween Havoc. Like the Fatal Influence stuff is like, okay, what they keep losing, but they're supposed to be contenders. Like, what are we really doing with them here? So yeah, there's a lot that happens on those shows.
For what it's worth, they have some good people that have been working NXT Level Up consistently. I haven't watched the show in the last few weeks because I don't think it's been available. I think it's only been on the WWE network. They're in like this weird transition. I don't know if it's on CW now or if it's about to be, but they've had a few weeks for like, because I used to watch the show on Hulu, and it's not on Hulu anymore. And I've looked on Peacock and it was like older episodes, but I think you might be able to watch Level Up live still, maybe, but it isn't on demand where it used to be. But I think that might change really soon, and I think it'll be on CW, I think. But it's always stayed on the WWE network, but since I live in the States, I don't get the network anymore. But the reason I bring that up is because NXT Level Up, also, just for people who don't follow that show, they have some people that have been doing some really good stuff on that show that I expect to become big stars in NXT and then become big stars in the WWE. Like, for instance, has the main NXT show used Hank and Tank at all? Hank Ledger and Tank?
Yeah.
Okay, those guys are going to be great. Like those guys, they vibe so much. old school 90s tag teams. Like they're a mix of like Public Enemy, Disorderly Conduct. Like they're like, I love Hank and Tank. Like there's some guys that I think that's why I love Level Up. Like there are certain people that you literally see go from no move set, no crowd reaction, literally don't know what's going on, but they're just getting reps week after week in front of a live audience who's there to watch and enjoy wrestling. They're not there to shit on everything. Like they want to have a good time and just watch some Level Up. And some of these people go out there and they're really succeeding. The majority of the women that are currently on the NXT weekly show came from Level Up, and I watched them go from not knowing what's going on to being over to getting it. I mean, so it's like, I think the Level Up is a really slept on show. Like I think it's a really fun 1 hour show. It's usually only about a half hour of wrestling because they'll run like a Raw or SmackDown segment or something in the middle. But I'll just take this opportunity, since we rarely talk about NXT on here. People should give NXT Level Up more of a chance. I think it's a good show. You just have to go into it with the right expectations. You can't go into it expecting to see like a super indie or expecting to see an AEW type show from like an in-ring perspective. But if you go into it thinking, hey, let's just watch the development of this and see if they get over, and then see where their careers go from here once they get a shot, I think it's a really enjoyable show.
I mean, Level Up is the true developmental. People,
Yes.
say, oh, NXT, developmental brand, third brand, which is it? Like, yeah, they have like some talent they're obviously trying to develop on the show before they get ready for Raw or SmackDown, but Level Up is the real, and we're going to develop basically the athletes that they have signed before they get on NXT main. Like that's a true developmental show.
Yeah, it is. And it's the, well, I won't harp on this too much, but like, excuse me, I've always said that the actual, by the way, could you send the link to Maggie real quick? We'll have her come on after this.
Yeah.
Thank you. Maggie, if you're ready, we'll have you come on after I finish talking about this. I think that the original goal of the original NXT Gold and Black failed. It was a failure from a developmental standpoint. It was a success from like a super indie standpoint, but it was a failure from a developmental standpoint. And the reason I say this is because if you look back at that era of NXT, what we got on the TV show on the network was awesome, because we were getting Kenta and we were getting Finn Balor and Kevin Owens and El Generico. And, over time, we get Adam Cole and all these other, they made it into a super indie, Shinsuke Nakamura, Samoa Joe, so on and so forth. The actual show, but they were taking people that were already over and established from all over the world and putting them in basically a super indie situation, and just letting the WWE audience watch it on the network, which was, as a fan, I loved that. Don't get me wrong. I used to go to all the live events when they'd come to Nashville or come to Atlanta. I'd travel to Florida for some of them. I love that original NXT. But from a developmental standpoint, a complete failure. They didn't develop hardly any talent in that performance center or on the show during that time. Like, you might be able to look at someone maybe like Baron Corbin. He's like really one of the few people that you can maybe call a success, because he was a football player. He had no indie career, and he's still in the WWE to this day. But when you really think about it, it was a complete failure because they didn't develop any talent. They just kept hiring new people that were already over and putting them on their show, and it never gave a chance for like actual development and real pushes for brand new people that they actually develop themselves. Now they have an opportunity to do both. They can bring in the Vakers and the Julias and stuff who are already established, bring them in and put them right on the main show, but they have Level Up now as an actual feeder into that. So I think that the current system is working both ways. They can be a super indie on television, but also actually develop their talent through Level Up.
All right. You know her from coexisting every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern with Rob Wilkins. You know her maybe on Twitter. You know her maybe from serving drinks. It's our pal Maggie. Maggie, how are you?
Finally on the spotlight. We finally got you, Maggie.
Okay, first of all, fucking finally. Second of all,
Jensen's fault.
Second of all, that is Fightful legend, Maggie, to you.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, I dubbed you that, so I
Yes.
should have included that in the
Yes,
intro.
this
That's my
was your
fault.
fault. And third
Okay.
of all, I slept funny. I pinched a nerve in my back, and I couldn't work out. And like, this is the best I can do right now.
That makes two of us. I've got a knot in this side of my neck that is like, it makes it hard to even lift my right arm up. So we're both in the. Now, full disclosure, the only reason it's taken almost 3 years to get Maggie on the show is because the time difference she's on a completely different time. So we've tried to schedule interviews before, but it's just the time change is just we just couldn't make it happen. And because today we didn't mention it, but I'm not working my shoot job today, so we do not have the time constraint of me having to be gone 13 minutes ago and clocked into my job. So it was like, okay, cool. Maggie's going to be awake and like she got the day off and we're going to be live and we can finally have her on the show. So taking this long for you to join us was not because we didn't want you here. It's because we live in two completely different parts of the world. So I'm very happy. And you're always here. Like it sucks because like you're always here live in the chat, but like we can't bring you on because by the time we bring you on, I have to run off to work. So like that's, thank you very much for joining us, Maggie. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you. It was a really funny situation because like the first time was you mentioned me hopping on the show on the day I was going back from All In from London this year, and I was like, I'm gonna be in an airplane at that exact moment. And then the second time you wrote to me about it, it was so funny because you messaged me and all I could see is the 10th, but you meant October. And because in my mind, the only thing that I, thought about the 10th was me being hospitalized on that date. And I'm like, why is the entire universe not want me to be on the spotlight? This is fucking ridiculous. And and I was like, oh no, wait. He met October 24th. I can make that happen. That's a good thing. So Thank you so much, sweeties, for having me on. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead and plug everything that you got going on, Maggie, and we'll get on out of here. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding, Maggie. I'm totally kidding.
I was like, wait, is that that's it? Okay.
Totally. No, like I thought I was gonna have her on here to say hi. And
wow, Stephen. Divorce.
That's a rib. I got both of y'all. Okay, no, Maggie. You were about to go into plugging your shows. Okay, no, Maggie. So we want to have you on here for a little while. So let people know who. Obviously, you and Rob do your show together. Rob's a good buddy of mine. I consider him to be one of my best friends in wrestling media. One of the few that I've actually met in person, as a matter of fact. And Jeremy's on that short list as well. People I've actually met and hung out with in person from this world. I didn't even mention, I got to see Issa at Bad Blood. I got to see Steve Fall at Bad Blood. I forgot to even mention this stuff on the show. It's been cool. I've actually been seeing some people lately.
That's so good. Must be nice.
It was. Well, I know it's impossible for you where you're at, but let people know who maybe aren't familiar with your show with Rob Coexisting, or maybe they just know you from the chat here on the Spotlight or whatever. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into being a wrestling fan and stuff like that.
Oh man, what a loaded question. Okay, so man, it was back in 99 or the year 2000 probably. So this is me peeling my life back a bit. So living in Bulgaria during that time, we only had 2 channels, guys. Like 2. If you have cable, sure, but if you don't have money for cable, you only have 2 channels. And we were one of the people that do not have money for cable. So at that time, when our second channel was getting developed, they obviously got the rights to show Raw and SmackDown a month later. So we saw the shows, but with a month delay, and we got no pay-per-views or anything whatsoever. So we were okay. So flipping channels wasn't a hard thing because there's 2 of them, and my parents just came to my grandparents' house to pick us up on a Sunday afternoon, I want to say. And I put on the second channel, and the first thing I ever saw was The Rock in front of a Raw is War sign being interviewed by Kevin Kelly. And The Rock called Kevin Kelly an ugly hermaphrodite. And, and then some things started happening in the ring. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And my father knew what this was, which was baffling to me because, like, oh, that's some, that's a circus act. You don't need to watch that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Which is the funniest thing because now my dad likes Josh Alexander. This is the funniest thing ever because he looks like a true Olympian, and that's probably why my dad likes Josh Alexander. Yeah, so from that point on, I got hooked because of The Rock. I am as basic as female wrestling fans are. I just fell in love with The Rock, so I started watching, wrestling. I stopped watching wrestling when The Rock left to film Scorpion King, probably. I went back to watch a lot of stuff when I came back to wrestling. I came back to wrestling when John Cena was facing The Rock for the second time in a row on a WrestleMania. This is when I came back to wrestling. Was this WrestleMania 28 or 29?
29 was the second match.
Yeah, 29.
Yeah,
27
yeah.
was
So
Atlanta, where it was the Miz and Cena, and then they had their first match at 28, second at 29. Yeah.
sure, this was the WrestleMania when Fandango beat Chris Jericho on WrestleMania.
Yep, opening match.
Yeah, that was the best. And CM Punk versus The Undertaker, right?
Yeah, that was the same show, I believe. Wasn't it WrestleMania 29?
Yeah,
Yeah, because WrestleMania 30,
Yeah.
Punk was gone by then. That was the Danielson push. Yep.
Exactly. So this is the WrestleMania I came back for. Of course, because of The Rock. Like, The Rock got me into wrestling and The Rock got me back into wrestling. So kudos to The Rock. Again, as basic as female wrestling fans can get. So concerning our show with Rob, it's a really, really funny story because we started, Joel started doing the Twitch streams for wrestling pay-per-views or premium live events or whatever you want to call it. And he asked me to be a part of the show. And I'm like, that's really cool of you, because it was during the pandemic. And because I'm a bartender and I had no job during the pandemic and I had nothing better to do than to be awake at fucking 4 a.m. for a pay-per-view, of course. And during, I think it was a SummerSlam pay-per-view, Joel was actually attending the show. So Rob was the one to host the watch along. And we got along pretty fine. Like, we bounced jokes off of each other, and it played off really well. And then he messaged me and he said, do you want to do a show together? And then I said, no, but ask me again. Because I was so not ready to do anything whatsoever, because like I had zero equipment. I was working full-time schedules, like the night shifts, a lot of night shifts. So I didn't know if I could make it work. And I told him, please ask me again. Just don't forget to ask me again. And then he asked me a month later, and I was like, it's a no again, but ask me again. And then the third time, it was during December, and he asked me again. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but like, drinking is a huge part of Bulgarian culture. So whenever holidays come around, like Christmas, it's a really hard time for bars, because like, we get stressed out. We do not sleep ever. We don't have days off or anything. So it's a really hard time for bartenders and pretty much everyone in the restaurant business as a whole. So Rob asked me again in December, and I was like, if I can do this in December, I can do this anytime. So I said to him, okay, let's do it. And he was like, I did not expect that answer. So we began doing coexisting with Rob and Maggie on Fightful Select. This was our home. And then Fightful Overbooked came along, and Jeremy was like, "Let's do the show on Fightful Overbooked." It wasn't stressful at all. Me doing a live show. It's I'm not being sarcastic whatsoever. And no,
It was
just
taped at first, wasn't it?
it was
And
taped at first.
yeah.
It was taped. Yes, the Fightful Select show was taped. We taped it on a Thursday, and it was up on Friday. And Rob was like, "Do you want us to do the show live on Friday?" So for the rest of of the existence of coexisting, I will not be working Friday night shifts because I have the show. So and that fits me perfectly because I am a granny. Okay, I cannot do the Friday and Saturday night shifts anymore. I want to go to bed.
I feel like that's the busiest time, though. Is it not?
It is. I don't give a fuck. I just want to go to bed.
Fair. Honestly, fair. Relatable of just let me just sleep with everything. What's it been like working with our pal, Rob Wilkins?
Honestly, it's the best thing ever because he's the goofiest person ever. And
Such a nice
I
guy.
just yeah, he's a wonderful person. He always makes me feel he makes me think a lot about the world and myself and everything. And just talking to someone because like sensitive people aren't a thing in Bulgaria. I'll just put it out there. And Rob is one of the emotional sensitive people, and I love like spending time with Rob, working with Rob, because I don't have to pick my battles when it comes to a problem that I have, because I can basically tell him everything and he's gonna have a completely normal reaction, not gaslighting me or whatsoever. So that's a new thing for me. So yeah.
Oh, he's the man. I got to ask you a bartender question real quick. I think we've talked about this before, maybe.
Is it about Bloody Marys?
It is 100% about Bloody Marys. How would you make a Bloody Mary if I ordered one at your bar?
Well, this is a wonderful news for you, Stephen, because we make our own tomato juice in the bar.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we make it into a Bulgarian version of the Bloody Mary because, like, the Bloody Mary is a really, it's a basic drink. You have, the tomatoes juice and the vodka, pretty much lemon, Worcester or Tabasco and stuff. Like, we put a bit of Bulgarian seasoning in it. So we can be different from all the other basic Bloody Marys that you can get in other bars in Plovdiv, in my hometown specifically. So because we get a lot of foreign people, especially Westerners, from the UK and from the States and everything, all of them fell in love with our Bloody Marys. And like a lot of them wanted the recipe. I will not give you that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be able to replicate it anyways. If you guys were using like Bulgarian, I don't want to give your secret away either, but like, even if you were to tell me what was in it, like, I don't think I'd be able to find the ingredients. And I also am not going to be able to make my own tomato juice. I buy the Picante Clamato juice. That's like the, I mean, it's like,
the funny thing is, our friend Thupi, he came to visit me for a week from Canada. Thank you, Supi, so much. So he told me about the Clamato juice and everything. I did not know that this ever existed. I laughed a lot. How is this a thing? Like, Americans are weird.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. All our stuff's so normal. Like, but it's like anytime. I remember when I was working for MMA on Point. A guy that I was working with, Max, really good dude. I think he's still there to this day, but we all went out to Vegas for some fights for the UFC, and he was in town, and he was like, the portion sizes. He was like, how do you guys eat all of this? Like, it was like, yeah, every meal's like this in America. Like, you order something, they're gonna bring you. It was like even like you go to the convenience store, the grocery store, whatever, and like you go to like the Oreos. Our Oreo portions are like these gigantic boxes, and you go to like somewhere else, it's like 5 Oreos.
Okay, don't bring on the Reese's cup. Just
Oh yeah, the
don't
giant
do
Reese's. I
it.
don't have that in front of me, but I have a thing of Oreo. It's like a party size. I thought it was next to me, but it's on the other side back there. But yeah, our proportions are completely out of control. Yes, the Reese cup, Jensen. I don't know if you saw that, the half-pound Reese cups.
I have
giant friggin' things. I can actually, you know what? I don't have to bring it on because I can just pop this photo on screen.
Yeah,
look at
the
that.
photo. Like
There you go. Giant old Reese cup.
Oh man, yeah. So I love Reese's, but even that might be a little too much.
Need it.
But for the Bloody Marys, yeah, Maggie, that sounds good though. Mine are pretty basic because I just mix them up myself with like Tito's vodka, and it's like that's pretty much like the standard kind of around here, at least with Tito's.
Yeah.
People buy like the Tito's, like this. It's like a knockoff. I don't know what it's called, but people buy like Costco around here. And that's good too. But yeah, mine are basically just like I do the Picante Clamato because it's the hot Clamato. But I still put
Maggie's offended by your usage of this.
I use that. I use Tabasco sauce, pepper, pickles, and olives. But I know that there's some people that if I had like celery around, I'd probably throw it in there. I'm not a huge fan of the Worcestershire in there, but it depends on how much you put in there. A little bit is okay, but if it's overpowering, then I don't like it. But it's so funny because depending on where you go, it's a different drink everywhere. So like sometimes I sit down at a bar here in Atlanta and they don't even know how to make it. They're like, I've heard of those. Like, what do you want me to put in? And I'm like, dude, I don't know.
What?
Yeah. Oh, dude, there was one time there's a chain around here called it's called Buffalo Wild Wings. Oh, actually, sorry, it was Taco Mac. That's where I was. It's similar to a Wild Wings. It's called Taco Mac. They have a wing sauce flavor. It's like their super insane sauce or whatever. Like you have to be like a moron to even you like win like a contest if you eat enough of these wings because they're so insanely hot. They didn't know how to make
wings ever.
Oh wow, that's a very American thing is over here, the chicken wings. But I'll never forget. I ordered a Bloody Mary from Taco Mac. They didn't know how to make it, and I said just make it spicy. I said just do it how you normally do it. Just make it spicy. And by that I mean like throw some extra Tabasco in there or something. But they took the hottest wing sauce they had and probably filled the cup up halfway with it. I took a sip out of this thing and I was like, I like hot, but this was like, this was. I literally called them over and said, "You're gonna kill someone with this." I was like, I'm used to the hot, so like I'll deal with the pain, but like you're gonna kill someone with this. But it sounds like if I went to your bar and I ordered a Bloody Mary, you know exactly what to do. So as somebody who drinks Bloody Marys, I appreciate that. It's a very divisive drink. A lot of people hate them, but if you love them, you love them. So
can I throw my Bloody Mary opinion out there?
You probably think they're garbage. Let's hear it.
Never had one.
Oh.
Never.
You probably hate them, honestly. It's kind of an acquired thing. It took me a while to like them, honestly, like because it's a weird. I would normally never just drink tomato juice, even like tomato soup. I only really want with like grilled cheese, but for whatever reason, the mix of the Tabasco, the tomato juice, the vodka, and then I like pickles, so like I'll put some pickle juice, some olive juice, like for whatever reason, the mix. The hot and because you put a lot of ice in there too, so it's a cold drink, but it's spicy. It's really there's nothing else like it that I eat or drink. Honestly,
every single ingredient in a Bloody Mary, I will pass on. I just when I like
wow, why am I even on this show, man?
Like vodka, fine. Like I'll drink some vodka if it usually
the vodka's fine, but everything else,
tomato juice, hot sauce, stuff like that, just not for me.
I'm tempted to go make myself one real quick while we're on this show. Like I could like bring it over. I can't have all my ingredients here because I don't have room for it, but. This if I was ever going to drink a Bloody Mary live on air, like this would be the time to do it with Maggie sitting here. But
absolutely.
Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll do that. We'll see how long we're on here for.
My drinking is also very basic. Like when I do drink, which is not often at all. When I do drink, it's typically maybe like
Mana, the final boss, and here we go. This is how good. The final. God damn, that's good shit.
So
he did the Mana.
He didn't like it. I've never seen that. I saw like the beginning of that. Like I was scrolling Twitter and saw him holding it, but never watched him take the sip. You didn't even like it. Oh, that's
It's
funny.
good shit. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you liked it. Yeah. Oh, that's good stuff.
Well, it's straight up tequila, first of all. Second
Yeah,
of
it's
all,
straight tequila.
probably-
Like that probably doesn't go down the smoothest. I mean,
Yeah, it's probably not even refrigerated. You can tell that it's not chilled. So like warm tequila is ass. Okay. So
It
like
is.
I can get away. He doesn't like that. I really miss tequila. I quit drinking 2 years and 8 months ago. So I really miss tequila because tequila was my thing. But it's for the best that I do not drink anymore.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
for the best.
do what's best for you. I honestly don't drink much. That's honestly why I kind of changed to Bloody Marys, because I used to drink a lot of beer and I drink whiskey.
I know it's the video of you drinking a beer. That's why.
I always forget that that's on here. Oh my gosh.
It's the funniest
There it
thing
is.
because like I had no idea that this was Steven at all. I had zero clue, but like Rob played it a lot on the show, and I'm like, I need to find this man and I need to marry him because like that is the coolest thing ever. And then Rob like continues playing the video, and I'm like, that kind of looks like Steven.
For those who don't know what we're talking about,
As for this game right now, the Sounds are down 5-0. At First Tennessee Park, High Beach, Fox 17 News.
that is Stephen Jensen downing
That
a
is
beer
so
in the
hot.
background and pointing at the camera.
That was the opening day for the Nashville Sounds minor league baseball team, and yeah, that aired
Does it
live
even
on
matter?
yeah. But yeah, it's funny because the full clip, like I've got that somewhere too, but like they're zoomed in on me at the beginning of the segment. And I'm literally like showing them my Steve Austin shirt because I saw the red light go off, so I knew when they were going on. So I got right up behind him right before it started, and I was waiting for the light to start, and I saw the guy start talking, and I was like, oh, I'm like right in this shot. Like, there's no way that this camera's gonna miss me. And I just happened to be wearing a Steve Austin shirt that day, so it was perfect. Just chugging a beer, pointing at the crowd, and that yeah, that was. I think that's so funny that you didn't know that was me, and then
That is the
found out that
coolest shit ever. Like,
oh,
seriously.
that's funny. That's the kind of shit I'd be doing, Maggie. That's how I'd be living my life, YOLO. So I'm the same person right here on this show that I'm out in the wild. So like, you guys got to give me that credit. If you hate me right here, you'd hate me in real life. But if you respect the weirdness and the wrestling fandom, and if you like what you see here, you would actually am the same person in real life, as you can tell by that clip. So unless I have to travel on an airplane, like when I had to meet up with Jeremy, I was off that whole week because I was violently ill because of that plane. But anyways, usually
violently ill.
I can't fly ever again. I'm done. The last flight of my life was Jeremy's wedding. I will never do it again. I'll never do it again.
I can totally get it because when I was getting back from London this year, because this was my second trip with an airplane, the first time was last year and the second one was this year. And when I was getting back, and as the plane was descending, and like it was as if two really pointy stuff were piercing through my ears, my drums, and I'm like, what is this thing that I'm experiencing right now? And the flight attendant asked me a question, and I can see that he asked me if I was doing okay. I couldn't hear anything because of my ears, and I'm like, yeah, I'm doing great. It's just my ears. It took a week for my ears to get back to normal. Like, this was fucking insane.
Yeah,
I hate. That's not my thing. Flying's not my thing.
Yeah, fuck airplanes. And that's what a bummer, because I would love to actually be able to meet you in person. Like, we have a ton of stuff in common. I see your South Park stuff.
You guys are gonna have to take boats and stuff. Neither of you.
Well, I'm not really great with that either. I'm better on boats than I am.
No.
But...
It's boats. Hell no.
Yeah.
Like I did a 14-hour ferry boat
Oh,
that sounds terrible.
oh.
It was the most exciting part of the entire trip. So this tells you a lot about the trip.
Oh.
So like
Oh no. See, my thing is like I get motion sick, so like I don't like any of that kind of like I'll even get car sick sometimes still. Like I'm a little kid. Like I just like get car sick. But like but the airplane's just the perfect storm for me because I get motion sickness. I'm claustrophobic. I don't really like being surrounded by a whole bunch of people I don't know for long amounts of time. I get kind of anxious.
annoyed. I get annoyed, Stephen. I'm
Right.
really, really annoyed. Did we lose Stephen or is it just
Yeah, I
me?
was wondering whose that was. Yeah, that's Jensen's.
Oh, am I back?
It's not me.
Am I back?
You're back. You're back.
Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, I mean, but it's like you
just
might.
start talking about
Yeah,
planes
you went
and
very
just went away.
robotic. I didn't know what was going on.
Oh no, all I was saying was like it's the perfect storm because I get motion sick, I get anxious around crowds of people that I don't know. I get claustrophobic being stuck between multiple people. Like the whole experience to me is literal torture. And like and I'll get motion sick the second the thing starts lifting off. So and it doesn't go away. So it's just you just feel sicker and sicker the entire length of the trip to the point where when I came back from Jeremy's wedding, this was so embarrassing. So when I came back, so when I went to Jeremy's wedding, I got sick on the way there, really bad. Cassidy Haynes can attest to this because me and Cassidy got an Airbnb together, and I was throwing up the entire time we were staying together. Like he thought he was gonna have to take me to the hospital. He's like, man, like you are sick, and I was like, dude, I'm making it to this wedding, man. I'm gonna make it to the wedding, and like I'll go step by step. And then when I came back on the flight, I had an actual attack where they had to wheelchair me off of the plane. It was the most embarrassing thing. They had to wheelchair me off the plane and take my vitals. They had to take my blood, they had to draw blood and test it. They had to do my blood pressure, and they had to like wheel me around like the Atlanta airport for a while until I felt good enough to be able to stand up on my own. And then the Atlanta airport is humongous. So like I had to take like instead of taking the trains because I didn't want to feel sicker, I had to walk probably 3 miles in the Atlanta airport to get to my ride. So anyway, we don't need to keep talking about this. Nobody cares
Oh,
about this.
sweetie, I'm so sorry.
Nobody
Planes
cares
suck.
about this.
Planes suck. I agree with
I
you there
don't.
because what?
I have no issue with planes. I've never had an issue. I've taken many flights in my life, and like I would fly. I don't say I'd fly every day, but like if I had to, I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem.
I envy that. I really do. I would love nothing more than to not have this problem because I would be doing so much stuff. Like I'd be going so many places and going to so many shows. Like I'd be traveling all the time if I didn't have this problem. So it's a real handicap for me, unfortunately. Rob in the chat, Rob, our good friend, 3 of my favorite people. Dude, you didn't need to give us money for that. You had to give us $2 to say that, Rob. But hey, appreciate that you did. But I mean, I'll give you your $2. Well, actually, I won't see that $2 anyways. But I almost feel like we should give you your money back. Like you shouldn't have to give us money to send a super chat. But it's good to see you, Rob. And dude, I'm looking forward to tonight, man. We got a big game tonight. It's gold.
Will someone explain American football to me?
It's going to be impossible to do that. Sorry, not in like in a short amount of time. Like you, it's not that you wouldn't be able to understand it.
Yeah, did you just call me stupid?
No, I didn't at all. but I'd have to literally be showing you games in the play because to explain it makes honestly no sense. Like that's why football isn't huge outside of America either, because American
they're
football.
In London and Belgium.
They're trying to expand it, but there's a reason why, like soccer and baseball and basketball and stuff are still bigger worldwide because it's a lot easier to understand.
Having me on the stream should make you never say soccer ever. Just
sorry, I'll say football, not football. Yeah. Football.
The same fucking thing.
Football.
No, it's football. It's exactly like American football, but it's like real.
FUTBOL. Football. Football Americano is the American football. What would you call our sport? Just American football?
American football, yeah.
The
other
however
real
finisher
football.
gets it. I was saying football. That's the correct. That's the correct. And I don't even like soccer. Actually, I really dislike soccer. That's like
She just said, "Don't say that. Don't use that
Divorce,
name in vain."
Stephen, divorce.
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 You need more South Park stuff, by the way, Maggie. I like that the collection is
I really
growing, but you do need to expand it. I appreciate the commitment though to growing the collection. One day it'll look like it does behind me. One day you're gonna turn around and be like, "Why did I spend all my money on this stuff?" Oh, it's because I'm a badass and I love this stuff. That's why. There you go.
I do need more South Park stuff. Kudos to Soupy for getting me those. That's a legitimate present from Canada. So yeah, besides from the huge ass poster that I have for South Park, that's pretty much it. A part of my all-time love for the series because it's so fucking stupid, man. I love it. Like that's I fell in love with South Park when they first started showing it on MTV when I was a really, really young girl. And like they showed a video of Suckle My Chocolate Salty Balls from Chef.
Classic. Yes. I love how these are the things that drew you in. The Chef's Chocolate Salty Balls drew you into South Park. And the Raw console and a hermaphrodite drew you into pro wrestling. Does it cost a lot to ship? I never thought. I figured it would just cost a lot of money to ship from like the U.S. or Canada to Bulgaria. Is that not the case?
Okay, so listen to me very carefully. There's a Christmas package from a lot of people from the States that I've been waiting for 2 years now.
Oh, see, and here's the thing. Full disclosure, because obviously you can't even see 1/4 of my collection on screen right now. It's gotten insane. I've shown you stuff privately, but like, you know, I've got my little South Park displays and stuff too. And I've honestly wanted to help you grow your collection. I want to send you stuff. I just have no idea. Like, I legitimately feared that happening. I was like, if I buy your stuff and send it to Bulgaria, I don't know if it's going to get there. And if it does, how much am I going to be paying to even get it to her? So like, but I do want to send you some South Park stuff to help fill out those the shelves.
You can give it to me when I come to the States.
Yeah, the next time we come to the States, 100%. 100%.
It's gonna happen at some point in the future. Sean's trying to get me to come to Texas for All In.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, imagine my first trip to the States being to Texas. That ain't happening, man.
That's a different.
You'd fit in great in Texas. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm 5'1", Jeremy.
You'd have a good time in Texas. Texas it's similar in a lot of ways to where I live in Georgia. It's not like the same, but it's like we have some similarities. We're both South. Texas isn't the South, but it operates kind of like the South does in a lot of ways. I'm obviously in the South, but you will hopefully we'll get like a big show in Atlanta. I mean, obviously we just had WWE Bad Blood here, but like hopefully we get like a big. I'm actually surprised AEW has never run like a massive AEW pay-per-view out of Atlanta to this day. But hopefully they run something out of like Atlanta or Nashville. I think Nashville's getting are they getting like a SummerSlam? They just had a SummerSlam, didn't they? But Nashville's another city that, like, if they have a big show that you can make to Nashville, I'll make it. Nashville's close enough to me that I can drive there. So we'll make that happen at some point, hopefully in the near future. So you live so far away from everyone else.
I do. Like, that's why I make, the London trips. That those are fine. Like, it's a 3-hour flight and it sucks anyway. So like,
yeah. Well, what else you got going on, Maggie? What else are you liking in wrestling right now?
In wrestling right now, oh Jesus, that is I'm pretty much liking all the BCC stuff in AEW. I'm enjoying this, and I did hear you guys talking about NXT. I've been enjoying everything that NXT have been doing with the women's division. That is because on this week's NXT, Tatum Paxley versus Jada Parker was something that people need to watch. I've been a huge Sol Ruka fan ever since she debuted. Like, she's probably one of my favorites. I do wonder what Sol Ruka would look like on the main roster, because I don't know if this happens there. And you guys know that a lot of us are afraid when it comes to NXT call-ups to the main roster. They did the job perfectly with Braun Breaker, and that's fine. They've been getting there when it comes to Carmelo Hayes, but I'm a huge Carmelo Hayes fan, and the fact that he's not one of the best people on SmackDown is kind of insulting to me. But like, yeah, that's yes, that's pretty much. I've been enjoying everything that's happening with the Bloodline situation, but I will be enjoying it even more if Cody ends up not being a part of the Bloodline whatsoever. Like, let Cody
Yeah.
do his own thing. Just keep him apart from that entire situation. Just, yeah. But AEW, this week's AEW was a weird ass show, man. Like it got me excited for Buddy Matthews versus Adam Cole next week, and that's it, man. Like that's
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been a divisive show. I shouldn't even say divisive. The general consensus is most people didn't seem to like the show a whole lot last night. There was definitely certain parts of it that were good, which we've kind of already talked about on the show. But like, excuse me. But also like a lot of the women you just mentioned, all the women you just mentioned for NXT, they all came from Level Up, which we were just talking about as well. Like I remember watching all those women. I mean, Sol Ruka, you mentioned, she has a ton of potential. She is ultra marketable. Like, and you know, the Soul Snatcher is a move that like I've seen on the indies. Dante Leon has been using it for years, but like she's the first person that anyone's seen do it in the WWE, and like that alone is gonna have her over. Like you see her, you're like, damn, beautiful woman, looks athletic, does athletic stuff, and then she whips out a move you've never seen before, and you're like, oh damn, like that's a star. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, those are all good shouts, I think. Jeremy, you got any questions?
Well, I think when it comes to Sol Ruka, this is not a question, this is a comment on Sol Ruka. And the NXT presentation it's probably better if they stay at NXT for a while instead of going up to the main roster with no actual idea of what to do with them.
Thank you so much, because oh my god, I was a huge Tegan Nox fan, and I was mad when she got called up before actually being an NXT Women's Champion for a while, because this would have been so much better than to have her on the main roster. Like, you were a part of really great storylines when it came to NXT, the women's side of NXT. That's fine, but like, were you though? Like, she got called on the main roster, they did nothing with her, and like she went back a bit and then she came back. It's just so frustrating, man. Like, I still love Tegan Nox, and I still think that she could still be NXT Women's Champion for a while at least, and then she can do something with herself on the main roster. But man, I kind of feel like they flopped with her a bit, but time will tell, I guess, when it comes to that.
And Sean Garner saying Kalani Jordan is a star. Yeah, I think Kalani is fantastic, and I look forward to whoever she faces from Fatal Influence at Halloween Havoc this week.
Is she still the North American?
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. A call up from NXT also, Kiana James, that she kind of disappeared.
She's been injured.
She's been injured. Yeah. But hopefully they do something, because like her, like not only her character, but like her moveset in the ring, the way she carried herself, like she grew in front of us, and like she's so good right now. Hopefully they capitalize on that on the main roster whenever she gets healthier again.
I saw Carmen Petrovic's been doing some on NXT recently as well. Like I like her from Level Up a little. Like it's
a bit of a questioned storyline with Carmen Petrovic.
Oh, I don't even. I have literally no idea what she's doing on this show. I'm just saying, like, based on my experience seeing these people develop and level up, I've noticed some of them popping up on like the main NXT show recently. So should I even ask? Is it some like offensive story? I legitimately have no idea. So Okay, I won't. I'm not trying to drag anybody into something they don't want to be on screen talking about. That's no problem. I'll look into it myself.
Yeah, it's just a ridiculous storyline that I'm not offended in any way. It's just like I think that in 2024 we can do something more with the women. Like that's more. That is all I can tell here. And Jada Parker is probably from that class. Like if she changes her finisher, she'd be complete because her finisher is just throwing her incredibly hot ass into people's faces, and I don't understand how this is finisher because gimme.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, just doing like the hip attack.
Hypnotic something. The hypnotic something that they're calling it on commentary.
That's the name of the move is like hypno. They use
the hypnotic something. I forget what it was, but like, sure, looks great. I suppose it feels great, but like, change it.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, Sean Garner asking, I'll pose this to you, Maggie. Who do you guys think dethrones Roxanne Perez, and when does it happen?
I adore Julia, but I hope it's Stephanie Vaquer or whatever they're calling it on commentary, because like I feel like every time Booker T says her name on commentary, it's different. So like, Stephanie, man, Jesus Christ, everything that she does looks incredibly real, and I'm buying everything that she's doing. So I hope it's Stephanie, but. So Delta debuted this week. Oh man, what was her new name?
Zarya.
Zarya. Okay. Yeah. So apart from this reminding me of MTV's Daria, which is probably my favorite animation. This is my stuff.
I remember that show. I've actually got one of these. Daria came from Beavis and Butthead.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah. So a part of this reminding me of Daria, I don't know. I'll give it time. Zarya, cool. This is my stuff. Got to get up. I may go up. Excuse me, and etc. But I'm looking forward to that. Who dethrones Roxanne? If it's not Stephanie Vaquer, if it has to be someone that was homemade in NXT, my money will be on Jada Parker.
That's a good call. I feel like that's also kind of why, I could be wrong about this, but from the outside looking in, it feels like the main reason you would make a women's North American title is like so you have something for the more like level up learning. You know, it's obvious, right? It's like a more of a mid-card title, like, you know, how you'd see like an Intercontinental title or something like that. But like, but that I think that's smart that they've introduced that title, because then it's like, if they don't feel like someone like Sol Ruka, for instance, is quite ready yet to be the main women's champion, she has something to fight for that's meaningful. And then if she does good with that, then they push her up to the main title. So like, I think that's, you know, that's smart too. Cause if you have the main women's championship, like you do, excuse me, with Cora Jade, then you can introduce people like Julia and back her and Delta and stuff, and like immediately have them challenging for titles based on their reputations before they even came into the company. So I think it's a, you know, I'm generally somebody who doesn't advocate for more title belts, but in the case of the NXT Women's Championship, the NXT North American Women's title, though, makes sense that they have that.
Yeah, but like if they did something with the women's tag belts, it would.
No, see, the tag belts are worthless, unfortunately, on like all the shows, it feels like. So I agree with you on that too. Like they could probably do without even having women's tag titles in NXT and just having the North American and world titles, probably.
Well, the tag titles are just floating between all the brands. They're not necessarily like NXT specific.
Right.
Well, they didn't pop in NXT for like years.
Yeah.
Like they just started, you know, they morphed them together and I'm like, yeah, okay. So that's good. And then they forgot about NXT's existence altogether. And now they pop in, thanks to the metaphor, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. I'm happy that they're having, getting screen time on the main roster. That's cool. But, if the titles were a part of NXT, that should be something, because they have an NXT portion of it in them. So, make it a thing.
Right. Yeah, both those women are from Level Up too. Jakara Jackson and
yes.
Why did I blank on the other name? Jakara
Lash
Jackson.
Legend.
Lash Legend.
Lash Legend.
Lash Legend does that. I don't know if she's still doing it as her finisher, where she holds someone like behind her back and swings them around. It's kind of a cool.
Yeah, she just hit that on Piper Niven on Raw.
Oh, really?
It was impressive.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, good for her. And she's got a lot of. They all pretty much. WWE's done a great job with their, whatever you want to call it, recruitment or whatever of their women, taking women who had no wrestling background or very limited wrestling background, but were athletes, and teaching them to how this works. I mean, they deserve a lot of credit for that, because you're naming a lot of people right now that have never been big stars at all, but they're all on the come up at the same time.
Lash Legend has improved immensely. I mean, she could have gone back to, basketball, but she didn't. She chose to stay in wrestling, and then she just improved a lot, because previously she wasn't my cup of tea whatsoever. Right now, kudos to her.
Yeah, you can always change my mind too on people. Excuse me, I used to hate Nia Jax. I was not a fan of hers at all back on her first run in the WWE. I was pissed off. She, jacked Becky in the nose, and she was hurting people, and they were making it look like she was going to beat Dean Ambrose on his way out and stuff. I was like, what the hell is going on with this? This is insane. And then she came back, and she's been great since she's come back. I think Nia Jax has done a complete 180. She's legitimately one of my favorite people on the show. So my mind can be changed. Hey, LA Knight, yeah, I'm digging that guy now. Now that he's on Cody Rhodes.
Listen up. The only reason you hated LA Knight was because people were pushing him to dethrone Roman. That is the only reason. Because you were emotionally hurt because of the people, okay?
Yes.
That is the only reason why you didn't like LA Knight. And all of a sudden, when he was out of the title picture, you were like, oh, he's not that bad. Come on, sweetie.
Yeah. Exactly. My mind can be changed. That's my whole point here. My mind. I'll grift. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, whatever. I'm not a journalist, dude. I'm just a stupid wrestling fan that got super lucky that I'm able to sit here and talk about wrestling, and anybody gives a fuck. But I don't. I mean, LA Knight has always seemed like a great guy. He's a great human being. I've never had anything against that guy at all. But it's just so funny because people like me and Jeremy watched that guy for 2 decades doing the same shtick all over the world at other companies, and it was okay. He wasn't lighting the world on fire, but he was having solid runs in the NWA and Impact and stuff like that. But then it just got super over the WWE, and I was like, how is this happening? How is this? This is insane. But to his credit, he has kept the momentum going. He's still whenever I go live to a show and he's there, he gets a massive pop. The people are happy to see him. And once I accepted the fact that he is essentially a professional wrestler who's cosplaying / doing an homage to the way 90s wrestling used to be, and he's aware of that, I'm cool with it. He doesn't come off to me like a ripoff anymore. It's more like an homage, where it's there's not many people out there doing the over the top 80s 90s pro wrestler thing, and he takes a bit of Randy Savage, a bit of The Rock, a bit of Steve Austin. He basically takes he basically just molds together a bunch of stuff that worked really well in the 90s and does it himself as one package, but it works. So good for, I'm unironically saying I am happy for LA Knight for the success that he's had, even though I massively hated on the guy. Once again, my mind can be changed.
Sure, but his theme is also working because it's simple, it works, and people get stuck to it. I'm a huge supporter of the fact that your music is a huge part of your presentation, correct? I feel like we can all agree on that. I hate AJ Styles' theme. I hate Braun Breaker's theme. I hate the Motor City Machine Guns' theme. Oh my fucking God. So Motor City Machine Guns are a part of the main of WWE right now. Not only were they introduced on fucking Twitter, oh, like we're gonna have a match. We have new recruitments, and I'm like, on Twitter, okay. And then they have a match and they go out to almost no pop because people expected them to be there. And I'm already mad about that. So their music, because like we went to the cool Motor City Machine Guns theme on Impact and TNA and everything. City, Motor City. And then we to this. I don't even remember how the song went.
It's like raise your fists. Raise your what's this have to do with the Motor City Machine Guns? They've never done that. They do this thing, you know.
Yeah, they do this,
but,
you know, the Detroit thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, raise your fists. Why should I be raising my fists, dude? And I wouldn't definitely not be raising my fists for those merch t-shirts that you've done because they're crap also. And that makes me kind of mad because like themes and presentation for me are, you know, important because obviously it's important to the people. And when a certain wrestling theme music is changed, it just pisses me off. AJ Styles' theme, like the We Don't Want None stuff, that was so great, man. That was one of my favorite moments in AJ Styles' WWE run was someone in the audience was carrying a sign that says, "We don't want," and a picture of a nun. Like,
that's funny.
Like, wrestling fans can be incredibly creative when it comes to things that they enjoy, and when they don't enjoy your presentation, they just want to get behind you, man. And I'm angry at that. Just bring back AJ Styles' own theme because I'm a huge sucker for AJ Styles', you know, all AJs, AJ Lee and Styles, like all AJs, just.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that because it was already a week ago because our show obviously being Thursdays and SmackDown being on Fridays, but we didn't even have MCMG as a topic this week, which we probably should have. But I'll mention I'll mention right now that I agree with you 100%. By the way, on like the theme song and all that stuff, I was a little confused. The merchandise doesn't look that cool. I saw Joel Pearls in the chat. He said the rat-a-tat-tat, which I think is like on the shirt.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb.
But what I will say on the positives, I've said this over the years a lot of times on this show and on the Weekender, but what the WWE is gaining in the Motor City Machine Guns is super, super, super valuable as long as they know what to do with these guys. Because, like, not only are they getting legitimately one of the best tag teams ever, they're getting two incredible singles wrestlers too. So there is so much you can do with both those guys without having to even break them up. Like if you just want a banger opening match where Chris Sabin wrestles Carmelo Hayes or whatever, like you have that and like it's going to be a banger match and you can guarantee it's going to deliver. Or it can be a main event where Alex Shelley takes on, you know, Randy Orton or someone, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, it's going to deliver. Like, but then also collectively, they're immediately threats to the tag team titles. Like they're going to, you know, they have to beat DIY, right? If they beat DIY, then they get a title shot.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a banger.
Yeah,
and that's going to be a banger of a match in itself, DIY versus the Machine Guns. And I love how on commentary for the Machine Guns debut, they were calling them your tag team's favorite tag team and stuff like that. Like they were making it really clear that like, even though the Motor City Machine Guns have never been in the WWE before, they changed tag team wrestling, and everyone that you're a fan of is a fan of theirs and have in some way, shape, or form been influenced by those two guys. So now that they're in the company, it's like they should be respected on the same level as all these other people before you've even seen them, because you know based on like their clout and like their how innovative they are in their history. It's a big deal that both these guys are in the company, and they made, but then on the flip side, bad merch, bad ring, bad music, stuff like that. So they need to tweak that stuff. I would try to fix that immediately. Like, because here's the thing, I would buy a Motor City Machine Guns WWE shirt right now. I would go on their website and buy one right now if it was a cool shirt that I wouldn't be embarrassed to wear in public. But I can't walk around in the rat-a-tat-tat shirt. Like, I'm not, that's too niche and too neck beard, even for me. Like, I walk around wearing a Cody Rhodes shirt in public all the time with the family Nightmare Family logo. I wear Shawn Michaels, Heartbreak Kid shirts in public and stuff, which is like goofy stuff. But every now and the Steve Austin shirt. But every now and then, you come across a wrestling fan, you make eye contact, you give each other the head nod, and you're just out in the world as a wrestling fan, kind of supporting what you support. But I can't be walking around with like a goofy ass shirt that people are just going to think I'm a loser walking around in. So give me a cool Motor City Machine Gun shirt and I will literally buy it right now, because I've been waiting for like 20 years for these guys to be in the WWE finally. So like, I want to buy their merchandise, just make it cool.
Well, to be perfectly honest, wrestling merch was never cool.
But to be fair,
some shirts are cool.
Yeah, like the NWO shirt the NWO shirt will always be cool.
The Bullet Club ones are.
Yes, the Bullet Club ones just wound up eventually jumping the shark because everybody tried to make an offshoot Bullet Club logo. But the Bullet Club logo, and some of them were really cool. There was a guy who we're not going to mention on the show who had a really cool one, but I can't wear that one anymore. But like Cody had a really cool one, like with the red, white, and blue, and stuff like that. But like they did a cool job of like making some cool. I have the Young Bucks one with their Bullet Club shirt. So I was one of the people that was like supporting it big time. I bought most of the members and the main shirt for the Bullet Club. I'd buy them as they came out because I thought that they were cool shirts. But there's some. The DX shirt I think still holds up, except for like it says "suck it" on the back. So like walking around at 36 years old with a shirt that says "suck it," like that's not. But like the actual DX logo is cool. But like they see your back and it's like 2 words for you, "suck it," and it's like, I'm not really trying to put that message out into the world when I'm 36 out in public. That's a little.
Do you give a crap? Seriously, I don't.
Well, I mean, if it didn't say "suck it," if it was just the DX shirt, but I'm not trying to like.
I would have it say "suck it" on the front because.
With it, yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I understood. But I think that let me put it this way: when I was at the casino the last couple of days, I was standing behind a couple of people to
Did
get
you
in there.
Sleep?
Hardly. But there was a guy in front of me that the back of his shirt, he was a guy that was at least my age, and the back of his shirt said, "Ask me about my butthole." That was actually what the guy's t-shirt said in front of me. And I turned to my brother and I was like, how fucking embarrassing is that? I
just don't care, man.
Yeah, I know.
Some people just don't care.
But I'm just saying, how embarrassing, like that's just
okay. Did you ask him about his
butthole? Joel, did you ask him though? That's now that's the important question that I go up and ask. The funny thing is, my brother goes, "Hey, bro!" Like he yelled it from behind him, but the guy didn't turn around. But like my brother was going to say something to him about, like he wasn't going to be a dick to him, but he was going to be like, "What about your butthole?" It literally, that's all the shirt said. Ask in giant letters. Ask me about my butthole, and I was like, that is a very that's a very YOLO message to put out into the world. Like just But that's not what I'm trying to be like out in public. Like I'm okay with drawing a little attention to myself wearing like a wrestling shirt or something, but like
you're not specifying what needs to be sucked.
Just it.
True. Yeah. And also, to be fair, it says S and then there's like an asterisk and then CK.
It could be socket. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be something else completely.
Sack it.
But it's like wearing a shirt that's like, remember how like John Cena had that shirt that's like the champ is here with like an arrow down to it with like the belt?
That was no.
Yeah, but it pointed to the belt though.
I know, but I have seen people in public wear shirts that's like the man with like an arrow up to it and the legend with an arrow down. And I'm like, how are you walking around in public like with that? Like, I can't imagine being that brash or whatever I don't know what the right word is. Like,
people don't care.
That's just such a level of not giving a fuck that like,
yeah,
I don't give a fuck, but I give enough of a fuck not to do that.
You give enough of a fuck where you don't want people asking about your butthole.
Yeah, I don't want a stranger coming up and asking me about my butthole. I wonder how often that works out for that guy. Where like someone walks up and like it turns out good, Well,
it depends. It depends what the story is, but we wouldn't know because you didn't ask. Damn it.
Yeah.
It would have been a really, really, interesting story. Maybe stuff came out that shouldn't have. Like, I don't know.
There's some good examples in the chat right now. Pile Driver Finisher says there was the Steve Austin shirt. It was the F and then a skull and then CK Fear. So it was like fuck fear, but it didn't actually say fuck. I remember that one. The big all over shirt that Joel's mentioned, the big all over Big Show shirt. Obviously, that was heavily implying something. Rob, were we at the same casino? I was at a casino in Murphy, North Carolina. So I don't think you were there, but I would have loved it.
Even more recently, they got the Miz shirt, the giant balls, massive balls.
Rock Fools, that's another good one from Alexa, Bliss Gamer in the chat. Rock Fools, that was a John Cena shirt. I remember that.
Yeah. Joel saying, hello, my balls are massive. Yeah. Just do that one.
That is no. Just no.
But in the grand scheme of things, it's really less embarrassing than walking around wearing like that, like the MJF return shirt that was just a black shirt with like Times New Roman that just said like the Wolf of Wrestling. Like that'd be lame as hell to wear that too, I guess.
You can wear the AJ Styles cum shirt.
Oh, I forgot about that one. It was just the letters AJ with like the white drip, right? Yeah. I forgot all about that one.
Just FYI, as a word whore.
Oh, did they ever make one of those?
Wordlow's t-shirts are ass, man. Because I hate all of the t-shirts that have wolves on them. Like they're so corny and cheesy, and oh my god, I get it. You think you're a wolf or whatever? It's something that remains incredibly icky for me because of all the heavy metal t-shirts. Because like one of my first jobs was at a urban store, clothing and accessories and everything. I did piercings there. So like a lot of the people that wanted, metal shirts were people who were just straight out stereotypical metalheads that did not shower, that they just, had a hateful conversation with soap like 10 years ago and they still remember it and just do not use it anytime soon. And then they just wanted t-shirts with wolves on them. And I'm like, oh, this remains with me to this day. And like all the Wardlow t-shirts have wolves in them. And I'm like, why?
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny that's the connection and that's the reason. But that is. I've seen some other ones. Scissor Me Daddy Ass. Do they have one? I'm sure they have a shirt like that. That'd be pretty embarrassing to wear out in public. Carlitos.
Billy Gunn wears it.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That's not a perfect example now, is it, Jeremy?
Look, if Billy Gunn can wear it, if it's good enough for him, it should be good enough for everybody else.
Okay, I would have zero problem with Billy Gunn wearing it on the streets because, like, Billy Gunn is a huge human being, and I would be like, you do you, sir. I would just.
Yeah, Carlitos, do you spit or swallow shirt from? It says Joel. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned like the not showering thing. I always joke. Because like my brother, like I'll like see someone will come over after I do like a live stream or something, and I'll take a shower like afterwards or at night or sometimes, and like they'll be like sometimes feel like you grossed out like you're not showering every day or whatever, and I'm always like, you don't need to shower for the internet, bro. Like nobody watching me right now is gonna know if I took a shower or not. I don't need to brush my teeth or shower for the internet, dude. Like come on. But
for yourself, Jensen. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is because I wake up so tired to do this show in the morning. Like I'm not going to shower this early. I know it's not early for a lot of people. This is early for me. So I do this, and then because I work usually right after, I shower on my lunch. I get 2 50-minute breaks and a lunch break. So sometimes I'll just knock out my shower on a 15 or during my lunch or whatever. I'm not a complete heathen who never washes themselves, but I'm also not waking up early to shower before I go live. I'll do it afterwards because nobody's going to know the difference here.
My God. When we attended Rev Pro this year before Wembley, there was a group of people that were sat right next to John Barker and I.
I hope they're watching right now, by the way.
Oh my God. You have got to be fucking kidding me. Like I have two examples of people's orders that have made my eyes tear up, and this is one of them. Like the stupid thing was they were smokers. Okay, like I've been trying to quit smoking too, so like I'm not smoking that much. But like they not only did they not shower, but they reeked of cigarette smoke, and I'm like, that's not helping your case whatsoever. Please change seats or whatever. Just and John was like, yeah, that's how it is on wrestling shows, and like that's my second wrestling show, and I'm like, what? No.
That reminds me of do you I know about the show all the time. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. You don't watch this, Jeremy? I feel like I've asked you this 1,000 times.
Well, yes, I watch.
Do you watch Always Sunny?
Yes.
Who is it? Oh, it's SP3 that does it, I'm pretty sure. There's somebody that I talk to all the time about.
I don't have a memory of it like you do, but like
because I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah,
Maggie, do you watch this Always Sunny, Maggie?
I don't know what this is.
Okay, so you would love this show because it's actually about a group of friends who own a bar and they just have all this free time and they're just the biggest pieces of shit human beings of all time. They're the biggest narcissists.
Oh yes, living the dream.
So funny. But there's this one character, Charlie, on the show who's like by far the dumbest of all of them. And there's an episode where he's trying to. You just reminded me of this by what you just said, but he's trying to. He doesn't want people knowing he was smoking cigarettes. So he smokes a cigarette, but then to cover the smell of the cigarette, he gets sprayed by a skunk, which is obviously an even worse smell than the cigarettes. And then to try to cover the smell of the skunk, he steps in dog shit. So like he just keeps doing things that make him smell worse and worse and worse. And then ultimately to calm the stress of how bad he smells, he smokes a cigarette. So he goes, so he winds up doing all this stuff for no reason. It winds up just smelling like cigarettes anyways, but on top of the dog and the skunk. So it's like, but that's reminded me of like the wrestling fans. It's like, showed up wearing no deodorant after not showering and then added onto it with the cigarettes. Just the combination of like
just the combination of it, yes. And they did have a lot of food that smelled icky to begin with. And I'm like, it's like what are we doing here? Like Zack Sabre Jr. is wrestling in front of your eyes versus Hechicero, and that's probably the most wonderful thing I'm ever gonna see and witness live. And like, why are you not showering right now? Like, it's not.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that it's such a common discourse or conversation in wrestling because I remember I was at one of the GCW shows here in Atlanta at Center Stage, and I'm not throwing him under the bus by saying this. I think he's fine with me saying this. This isn't like a backstage story or something. But I was talking to Mouse, Robert Bellamy, who's the father of Billy Starks, and he's a great. He does photography, ringside photography and stuff. And I linked up with Mouse at intermission and I hugged him. And he was like, man, thanks for wearing deodorant. It fucking smells like no one in that place is wearing deodorant. They're just like, you can tell who's wearing deodorant and who isn't at these shows. It's just so funny. But he's like, it smells so fucking bad at this show. And I was like, yeah, man, it's just so funny how that's just such a common theme in wrestling.
I understand this because I'm a bartender in a rock bar. And this is again, something common. And everyone that enters the bar and they smell amazing, I always tell them. And I'm like, you smell great. Please don't stop.
Oh, man. Well, we got to wrap this up pretty soon because me and Jeremy have to do our other and indie spotlights before we get out of here. Maggie, is there anything else you'd like to add, or Jeremy, anything else you'd like to throw out there before we wrap up with Maggie? I'm glad we finally got her on. We got to do like pretty much like a whole spotlight interview worth of an interview here. So I'm
stinky wrestling fans as well.
Yes, we have to bury. Here's the thing: it isn't hard to wear deodorant. It just isn't.
It's not.
If this was a thing that was like an unsolvable problem, like I would be way more sympathetic towards it. You know what I mean? I'd be like, you know what, like it's unaffordable or it's impossible or like this or that. Everyone can just put on a little deodorant.
It's a choice. It's a choice, and you're making that choice, which means you're a stinky dumb fuck.
You're deciding to make that.
This is a personal decision. So boo to you.
Yeah.
Maggie, let everybody know where they can find you at. What you have
Guys,
coming.
you can follow me on Twitter or X or whatever, Twixter at Maggie_IK and on Instagram at Maggie.IK. Every Friday night on this very channel, Fightful Overbook, you can catch me and Rob at 3 p.m. Eastern for Coexisting with Rob and Maggie. You can catch me and Rob and a lot of people on Fightful Select before major premium live events or pay-per-views. For WWE and for AEW. You can also catch me every now and then on the True Heel Heat channel with SP3 doing a prediction show for WWE premium live events. I love SP3 every time. It was such a great pleasure to meet SP3 in person this year. Alex McCarthy once again ran out because he was afraid of me. So
yeah, he knows I got basically bounties on him, so he makes
I
sure to
was
stay
telling him that I was going to create a YouTube channel full of videos of me gorilla pressing him into different venues in London, just so I can make money off of the trip in London. And he hasn't.
Yeah,
he hasn't been the same ever since.
Yeah, every time I know someone is near Alex McCarthy, I ask them to punch him. So he just stays away from basically everyone so he doesn't get punched.
You do that to all of us, though, to be fair. Like, there have been indie shows that I've had to look over my back because I know you knew people like CDW, and I heard like someone rolling up on me, and I was like, did Jeremy send them? So, yeah. Maggie, also, I'm sure you know this, but SP3 also a big South Park fan. So,
of course,
you
had a show, about South Park ranking characters, and I was so crushed that I wasn't on the show. You also ranked Bebe so low, and I was like, that is the stupidest thing ever because Bebe's boobs destroyed the world, and that meant nothing to any of you.
It destroyed society. I do remember that. Episode. Yeah, it's a bummer that we can't do more of those shows because we were doing Degrassi Dudes consistently. Yeah. We were doing South Park reviews and stuff. It's just a scheduling thing. But the thing is like we talked about it with this show potentially moving, to a later time. After I know it's not good for you. I know, but if we do move some stuff around a little bit, like it might open it up to where me and SP3, because me and SP3 still talk fairly often, and like most of the time we talk, it's like, let's find a date to do this or that. Like, cause we want to keep doing our shows together. I love SP3. He's also legitimately one of the best friends I've made in the wrestling space. Like, you guys, Joel Pearl, Rob Wilkins, SP3, like, short list of people that like I consider like actual legitimate friends, No
one mentions Sean. That's not by accident, by the way.
I love Sean. Sean's given me a lot of opportunities over the years. And I've met him. I mean, I've been with Fightful. This will be next month. It'll be 6 years that I've been doing the Weekender. Like, I mean, but yeah, Sean, I never mentioned Sean because we don't do a lot of shows together anymore. Just, I don't talk to him that often anymore. And I know he's a super busy guy, but, I always loved doing, like, me and him used to do like the watch alongs together for the UFC events. And, I've done some, I mean, he might pop on, usually pops on for the Impact or the TNA post shows with me, Cresta, and Joel, which we're doing that post show for Bound for Glory this weekend, by the way. We'll talk about that a little bit with our other spotlight, but I love those opportunities because me and Sean get to still do some stuff on screen together for those when he pops in, but no disrespect to Sean, obviously. I love Sean too. He's also a good. He's also one of the few guys.
He makes fun of me for being short, which is something I cannot change about myself, apart from wearing high heels. And I'm not gonna wear high heels. Why would I do that to myself? I mean, I trip over on even concrete while wearing sports shoes. Why would I wear high heels? To make myself taller. I'm 5'1". I can fit in a pocket, and I'm wonderful for it. So that's why I rip on Sean a lot.
Well, I'm sure he likes it a lot because he likes to feel tall. We all know this.
He's not that tall. Not that tall.
I know. I think I'm taller than he is. We're probably about the same height. No, I can't remember. He was at Jeremy's wedding. I can't remember. We got some pictures together. I can't remember.
Probably taller. You're probably taller.
I don't know. I'm like 6 foot. I'm like 6 foot even. When I wear my Ken Griffey Jr. sneakers, I'm like 6'1".
Maggie, we appreciate you. Everyone watch Rob and Maggie Coexisting Fridays, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel. Thank Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Maggie. Love
Thank you for having
Thank
me,
you.
guys.
Glad we finally had Maggie on. I got both of y'all at the beginning there, where I just wanted to wrap it
Yeah,
up
I was like, what are we doing?
Right after the intro. Go ahead and say what's up. All right, cool. Plug your stuff, and thanks for being on here for 3 minutes. No, I would never do that to Maggie, especially for how long she waited to be able to get on here. So that was fun. I hope everybody in the chat enjoyed that today. And we still have some wrestling topics to talk about, so please stick around. We're still going to be talking some TNA, some Maple Leaf, some action wrestling, some indie stuff. So
I don't want to shortchange any of this, but I'm way past my limit here when it comes to just, I got other things to do today.
Yes, this is obviously gone longer than we expected it to. And I don't have to work today, which is the obvious reason. Normally I'm clocking into work an hour and a half ago. So trying to take advantage. But Jeremy, how long do you have? Just so I know how fast we need to rifle through these, because I can go fast.
20 minutes or so.
Okay, cool. 20 minutes is more than enough time. Normally I got like 2 minutes to just blurt something out about GCW and bail. So 20 minutes is good. Appreciate your time, by the way, Jeremy. I know you're a busy guy. So
other topic, I guess I should hit the bumper.
Hit the bumper, man. Let's do it. Let's do it up.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling debuted this past weekend with 2 shows. I think the standout matches, most people agree, were Raj Desi against Bully Ray in a tables match. And that was really the only match that I thought was worthwhile. You should check out. What'd you think?
So that's a giant troll right there. And I hope that nobody heard. I hope Scott No More didn't tune in and just hear that and tune out. These were great events, man. This is super high production. Like, you can tell that, I don't know if it's like the same people, like the same team or whatever, or people he knew from TNA that he brought over, or like a little mixture of like multiple crews or something. But this show's presentation, it felt like you were watching Impact. You know what I mean? Like, and I mean that in a good way. Like, this is a very positive thing. Maple Leaf Pro, which I'm just going to call MLP for here on out probably. MLP, they immediately established themselves, because I know they were a company that existed in different like eras up in, I think I said on Cage Match that they up until like the 80s, and so, but let's just say like as a brand, we're essentially a brand new company. MLP immediately established themselves as a high level independent promotion that needs to be taken seriously, that they already got so many big names as a part of this. Like, I don't necessarily think, excuse me, that MLP is going to be, it isn't like a GCW or like an indie show that you'd see on like IWTV. It's more of like almost an in-between. This almost established itself almost like an MLW level company, like right off the bat to me. It depends on how often they run shows. But when you have the lineups of people where you got Takeshita, Speedball, Josh Alexander, Athena, you know, the names go on and on and on. But then you also have, you know, guys like Alex Zane and Trevor Lee and stuff, which are still big names that have been around a long time and have killed it on the indies. El Phantasmo, you know. But my point is, most of the people on these shows are established names that you know from another company, from larger TV shows and stuff like that. So that's where it's kind of like, and it's also why I'm glad you chose it as an other topic, by the way, not an indie, because it is an indie, but it feels more like an in-between. It feels more like an MLW, because they have the high production, they have the big names, they're putting on big matches, and it isn't a card full of people that like you don't know from television. Like, if you turn on GCW, most of the show is going to be people that are on the come up on the indie scene that don't have a lot of national television exposure. Most of the indie companies that I cover on the Weekender that I talk about here as an indie spotlight, most of those shows are filled up with people you don't know from mainstream pro wrestling television. These shows, a lot of the talent was well-established talent coming into it. So they got a real opportunity here, in my opinion, to carve a niche and a good space for themselves, to be kind of like an immediate like MLW level show. And then who knows? I mean, I know this is in the future, and a lot of things would have to go right and stuff. But Scott D'Amore has obviously got a lot of connections over the years with a lot of people, and this is the kind of show that, like, if things keep going well, I could see them getting some sort of television deal or something. Like, I mean, this could become like a MLW type show, or like a TNA type. Like, I think that these two shows really showed a lot of promise for this company, honestly.
I think we got to pump the brakes on a television show.
Well, that's why I said in the future. I'm not saying like this is going to happen immediately, but like very few times, like it's almost impossible when you see a company come out of nowhere for their first events, and it looks like that does with those kind of names.
Yeah, they had people. Joel mentions like they had a lot of the old production people from TNA and WCW. They have those type of names because they were afforded those type of names from AEW and from TNA. If they're on television, they ain't getting those names. Like,
that's fair. I mean, that's a really good point, because they would lose access to a lot of this stuff and a lot of the talent if they maybe they do the Forbidden Door stuff.
But weekly television kind of stuff, they're not getting.
Right. They would have to have their own stars. They'd have to establish their own stars.
I think TNA was fine with like playing nice in this instance, just because, all right, sure, it's a lot of the wrestlers obviously still like Scott. Let's do what we can to help him out. Like at the end of the day, the TNA wrestlers lost on these shows to the AEW ROH people. AEW certainly ain't allowing a guy like Takeshi to work weekly for them or anything. Like, you got to establish your own people in this. I think it works as not a one-off, but Joel and I talked about this on Monday. I think you can do like some quarterly type of events, and I think it can feel like a big deal for those quarterly events because you have more access to the talent for quarterly events. If you try to run monthly, you got to factor in WWE schedule. I know they don't use WWE talent, but WWE is going to run shows that are just going to take away time and opportunity from your presence and your coverage. You got to factor in the TNA schedule, because then you won't have access to those talent. You factor in the AEW schedule, you won't have access to those talent. There was no Collision this past weekend. Collision was a taped show, so they were able to get kind of the ROH and AEW talent when they needed it to. If you try to run more, then again, maybe every quarter or every, let's say, 6 weeks or something, then the schedule's you might not have access to as much talent. I think it worked for the two shows that they did because they did have access to those talents, and it felt like a big show. I do worry, and I don't know what the future holds, what D'Amore's plan is when it comes to this. But I do worry of it trying to be too much and it trying to just leave where it actually is in the wrestling space, because the shows were so good.
Yeah, I mean, and everything you said, I think, is totally fair and reasonable. Like, I think that they have an opportunity here. Maybe even if it isn't a weekly TV show, maybe it isn't a TV show at all. Maybe they keep doing it, like, because this was on Triller it was like $20 or $30 for the package.
Yeah.
But if they could become like a part of like the Triller TV Plus monthly subscription, that'd be even better for like fans like myself, because it would just come included and I wouldn't have to pay extra for it. But I understand why they're charging for it. And there were shows that were worth buying. Like, I really don't have a problem with it. They're going to limit their audience a little bit by it being, by charging versus, way more people would probably watch it if it was just part of the subscription already. But that's not my decision to make business wise or whatever. But maybe they could even just have it where they pop, they do the occasional show, and they're kind of like how PWG used to be. Like, that was where like all the top indie people congregated. It was like whenever there was like the rare PWG event, you got like all the best from across the world of indie wrestling, and they would just put on those super shows that would just go viral every time. You kind of have an opportunity with this, kind of with MLP, not like the super indie, but almost like a Forbidden Door spot for people to congregate. Because it's like, if you can keep getting just along, it doesn't have to be every single show, but if you can keep getting some AEW talent, some TNA talent, and to sprinkle in some indie talent there. But like, this is the place you could see Takeshita versus Speedball, which is AEW versus Impact. You can see Takeshita versus Josh Alexander. You can see Athena versus Giselle Shaw. You know, you can see kind of dream matches that you know, maybe they're not going to happen on AEW or WWE, but you get to see it on MLP, and everybody involved is cool with that being the way it works out. Like, there's a lot of cool opportunities they can do with a brand like this, especially because Scott D'Amore is as respected as he is and has the connections that he has. And, you know, it just, I'm happy that they did these shows. Like, I think I'm very optimistic about the potential of a company like this. And I think that both shows were really, really, really well done. And also we got mentioned, Ricochet showed up at the end, which is furthering the storyline there between Ricochet and Takeshita, with Osprey getting pinned in the triple threat and all this stuff. They literally mentioned Maple Leaf Pro on AEW TV last night. So it's like, these are huge wins, I think, for wrestling fans to have something like this, and for the wrestlers and everybody involved. Like, I don't see any negative of this happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it was a great debut. I think going forward, it just depends on what the company wants to be. And again, if you only run kind of quarterly specials, I think the company can continue to be this, where you use established talent and you use talent that maybe people haven't heard of, like Classy Ali, and showcase him. Like, there are opportunities there as a quarterly show for things to continue this way. If they try to do more, those opportunities might not be as much, because we gotta look, wrestling is still a business where, yeah, everyone wants to work together and it sounds nice and stuff, but there's also a hierarchy of shows, and there's a hierarchy of where people are going. And AEW, if they want to get into certain markets in Canada, they might not be privy to having their talent on a Canadian show. AEW, if they got to run a show a certain weekend, they're not going to have their talent on certain shows. So it's just gonna, they might not have as much access, or they might not be playing as nice if MLP wants to grow in certain ways that AEW is like, yeah, we obviously want everybody to grow, but if you're going to kind of grow and step on our business, we might not be able to help you as much, because we got to worry about our own business first. And that's just business, right? Like, you're going to look out for yourself first. So it just depends on what Scott D'Amore and MLP want from the company moving forward. I think there can be some good things that they can continue to do. And I think that if they try to do too much too soon, it may not work out.
I think those are all reasonable takes for sure. And I also, just the last thing I'll say about it before we move to the next one is Joel, with a important chat here, I think that needs to be brought up, is that Josh Alexander and Speedball are both coming to the end of their TNA contracts. Josh has said he'd like to test free agency. Speedball already does whatever he wants. Josh Alexander, if I was him, I would absolutely test free agency. I would, unless you feel like you have no value, or sorry, I should say no value. Unless you feel like you don't have the type of value to have any leverage in free agency, or you have like falling outs with other companies where you know it's just not going to happen, I would test free agency if I was pretty much any pro wrestler right now, because of the way that the market is and how big business is booming, especially in like the WWE and stuff right now. And I mean, the big TV deal just happened for AEW. And so, I mean, like, this is, and that's not to say Josh Alexander can wind up back in TNA and like continue to be pretty much the top guy there. And like, that's a good spot to be in too, being the number one guy in the third biggest company. Like, that is not a bad spot at all, especially if he gets the kind of pay and contract and dates and everything that he's looking for. Speedball, same kind of thing, but Speedball, like Joel says, already kind of does whatever he wants. He's already all over the place, but those are good things to keep in mind as well for both those guys.
Yeah.
And then the other topic, I'll just segue it right in. The other topic, we have TNA's Bound for Glory this Saturday. Myself, Cresta Star, and Joel Pearl will be doing the post show, so please join us for that right after the event. I love doing those every 4 times a year for TNA. And full disclosure, so normally what I do, I read all the spoilers for the Weekenders, so I know all the results for everything ahead of time when it comes to TNA, and then I'll do like a big binge. Like, I'll watch pretty much everything I need to leading up to Bound for Glory, pretty much between like Friday and Saturday. I'll get everything I need caught up as far as like the visuals. I already know what's going on storyline wise because of the spoilers, but then I'll get all the visuals I need in video packages and stuff like that. And but I haven't done that yet. So like I'm a bit behind on like the actual presentation of heading into Bound for Glory. But what I'm most interested in on paper is Jordynne Grace versus Masha Slamovich. The reason being, we have the Knockouts title on the line. Jordynne Grace obviously has gotten a ton of exposure recently in NXT. We've seen her in the Royal Rumble as well and stuff like that. But it feels to me like, unless, I've said it 1,000 times, unless they're planning on moving Jordynne Grace to the world title, like, I don't know what's next for her, because like, I love her as the Knockouts champion, but how long is she going to be like full-time TNA when like, NXT is obviously interested, and I have no idea what her deals are or anything like that. But what I would like to see happen as a Masha Slamovich fan, I would like to see Masha win the title. One, because it's a big win over Jordynne Grace, and Masha deserves it, and I think she's one of the best in-ring wrestlers in the world. But on top of that, it opens the door potentially to maybe then she starts, imagine Masha on NXT. Imagine, like, I just feel like if they can do something to get Masha out there more, she's consistently still in GCW. She's the current JCW world champion. But just as a Masha Slamovich fan, if there's any way where like it's a better possibility that she winds up in front of more eyes on something like NXT because she's the Knockouts champion, I really would like to see that for her. So that's the reason I wanted to spotlight that as our our other topic today. Without going through the whole Bound for Glory card, was basically, as a Slamovich fan, I feel like, and if not her, like, then who? Like, who is better to beat Jordynne, right? Like, I feel like Masha's just, it's the right person, it's the right time, and she can get so much more exposure if she wins this thing. And Jordynne's already a made woman. Jordynne Grace is already Jordynne Grace. She's already arguably the best, if not definitely one of the best women in the history of the company for TNA/Impact. And she's already gotten the exposure of being in the WWE, and I feel like at some point she'll probably be there full time. I'm just a guess. So like, I just feel like it's Masha's time.
I'm with you. I think Masha's probably going to win because Jordynne, I don't know if she's on her way out, but her contract is up, and it does seem like she is WWE bound. If they want to do that, if she wants to do that. And somebody's got to beat Jordynne at some point. And they've established Masha pretty well throughout her TNA run. And if it's not her, I don't know who it's going to be. I really don't. And like, you got to make somebody out of this. You can't not make somebody out of this. It can't be like, oh, let's drop it to an NXT person and then they drop it or what. Like, it just, you've got to actually make one of your talents. And Masha is somebody you can make off of this.
100%. So we're in agreement there. That's an easy one. I'm looking forward to the show though. Overall, I did some predictions on the weekend, or if you want all the people I think are going to win or lose the matches. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Bound for Glory. I'm sure it'll be a great show. All the TNA pay-per-views deliver. So whether you're a TNA fan or not, I do encourage you to check out the pay-per-view on Saturday. Whether you watch the post show or not, which I hope you do tune in for, it'd be good to see all y'all there. But even if you have no interest in like the post show or TNA as a company, really, as a wrestling fan, I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not at least watching the what do you call it, quarterly pay-per-views. They always deliver. They always deliver, in my opinion. So
get into our indie spotlight.
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
Got some good and bad with the indie spotlight. We'll do that. Aaron Mercer announced his retirement. Aaron's been on the show before. He's someone I've actually kind of kept in contact with coming out of the show, and he returned not too long ago. Injury. He was doing kind of a new, almost cult style gimmick on the indies, and I thought like some of the video packages he did was really fun. But he announced that he's going to step away. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, and he doesn't want to miss his kids growing up and everything. And he just thank the fans and thank everybody for support. I didn't know much about Aaron before he was on the show with us, And once he was on the show, we talked a little bit before our interview. We obviously did the interview. We talked a little bit after our interview. Again, we kind of kept in contact after that. And just very nice dude and very just kind and seemed very genuine with everything we talked about. And it's disappointing when I saw that message. I was a little sad. I just reached out to him. I was like, how are things? And he's like, is kind of what it is. Like, he's like, just kind of, he said, I'm tired. I was like, huh? I get you. So just best wishes to Aaron. He's a good dude.
He is. Actually, as a matter of fact, when I saw that he posted that he was going to be retiring, I did reach out to him myself as well. And I'll just read you the DMs. I said, hey man, congrats on a great run. As a fan, I hope to see you back in the future, but I'm glad to see you walking away when you feel like it's the right move. And he hearted the message and he said, I appreciate you, man, especially retweeting my shitty cult videos for some clout, LMAO. And so Aaron Mercer is the kind of guy, he's very like self-depraving, right? Yeah. Like he's the kind of person, like I don't think he likes compliments. I don't think he views himself as better than anybody. He's very humble, but he's also very, like, he doesn't think he's good, but he is. Like, he in his run, some of my favorite stuff of his, I loved all the matches he had against Brian Keith. Yeah. I really like this stuff out of like the Texas area. But he's had great death matches. Obviously, we talked to him about the Masada match whenever he was on, or Masada matches. Pretty much anything that he did in the death match world was really great. He's also one of these guys who's very versatile. He has even like the UWFI work style, work shoot style type stuff. Like he has legitimate like MMA style training. Like he throws good kicks and good suplexes and stuff like that. Like Aaron Mercer is the real deal. By the way, I don't know what the hell happened. My X account got locked and I just had to prove that I was a human just now. I don't know why that happened. It's saying I'm following nobody on X right now, but we'll see what happens there. I'm still verified. I don't know what the hell happened. That's why I don't even give a fuck about social media anymore. It's so stupid. Like, you can't even use the one app I still have active is that I have Facebook. Your wife actually Facebook friended me after I mentioned that I never on Facebook, but I appreciate that. Me and her are Facebook. I gotta find you on Facebook now, I guess.
I'm not on Facebook. Don't.
Yeah, it's funny. But my point is, like, I basically use Facebook to keep up with people's birthdays, and I only have X, and I rarely use it. And now, like, that's getting locked for literally. I'm not even using it, and it got locked. Maybe that's why. Anyways, Aaron Mercer, congratulations on a good run, buddy. If you're watching this, as I said in the DMs, I do hope to see you back, but at the same time, it's whatever your prerogative is, man. Like, I felt the same way in a lot of respects when AC Mack walked away. Like, he walked away in his prime, in my opinion. But he had already had long runs with the subtitle, the action title. He was the first openly gay independent wrestling world champion, and by association, the first gay world champion in wrestling openly. And when he retired, it was like a big blow. It was like, damn, why are you retiring, man? As a fan, I don't want to see it. But then I see AC Mack like live at these shows in Atlanta, especially like the ones that Rico wrestles on. And I'll see AC Mack and I'll say what's up, and I'll be like, hey man, how's retirement going? And he's like, man, I am so happy. He's it's like. And you love to see it. It's like, as a fan, you selfishly want them to stick around because you like them and you like watching them. But some of these guys, it's just like they had their run and they need a break or they need to step away completely. And I totally respect that. I think Aaron Mercer is a really cool dude. He's a funny dude. And he's a guy who I could definitely see coming on this show, just coming on and just shooting the shit sometime. We don't even talk about wrestling if he doesn't want to. He's an interesting guy. And a guy that I'm obviously a fan of. So congratulations to Aaron Mercer on a good run, and I wish you the best in your future endeavors. You know what I mean?
And the other indie spotlight, and more positive note, Bobby Flaco winning the Action Wrestling Championship weekend at Action. Welcome home. Action Welcome Home defeated Alex Kane in the main event to win the championship.
Yes, this was great. Bobby Flaco, by the way, will be on the spotlight next week unless there's something happens. But the plan is to have him return for another interview that y'all will hear next Thursday. He is the current reigning, defending, brand new Action Wrestling World Champion. As Jeremy mentioned,
he beat Manders. Apologies.
He beat Manders.
Yeah.
What did he say? Alex Kane?
Yeah,
he beat. Yeah. Alex Kane was all over the show, though. I mean, Alex Kane is he had a match against Jaden Newman on that show. defeated Newman, then was also seen later on in the show as well, helping the good hand out. But yeah, no, it was Manders that he defeated. But anyway, this was a rematch. That was the name of the show. It was Manders versus Flaco too.
Yeah.
Was the event. But nonetheless, this was a great match, great storytelling. Obviously, this was the rematch between these two. The finish was great too. Like Manders hits like a left arm, short arm clothesline, and which he finishes a lot of people with clotheslines. So he hits a left arm clothesline. Flaco kicks out at 1. Place goes nuts. Manders then hits him with his right arm lariat, his more traditional one that he puts people away with. Flaco kicks out at 2. And then Manders goes up to the second rope and tries to hit a super stampede, basically a second rope power slam. And Flaco reverses it into like a tornado DDT, and then comes off the top rope with the double stomps and pins him. Bobby Flaco is a guy who's like a homegrown action wrestling dude, came up from the bottom of the company all the way to the top now, has great fanfare, super over in front of that audience, totally deserves to be the action wrestling world champion. Manders did a great job with that belt too, but Manders might put in more miles than anybody in the world of wrestling right now. That's saying a lot, but he is everywhere all over the world. And while still consistently staying one of the main, parts of GCW. And speaking of GCW, Flaco has become a regular there as well recently, and he's starting to get singles wins. And so his stock is just rising and rising and rising. And it's another one that you love to see. He's a good dude. I like watching his travel escapades all over the world and stuff like that. He's a nice, genuine guy. So, ayo, Bob's here. Bobby Flaco, congratulations for becoming the new Action Wrestling World Champion. And by the way, this last thing I'll say, because I know you got to get out of here, the commentary on this was really important, and I want to give credit to our buddy Jon Moxley, aka Mose, been on the show more than anyone aside from maybe Cole Radrick. Mose is the homie. I always sing his praises, but he did a great job on the show, and I really want to especially highlight Dylan Hales in this main event. If you have never seen an action wrestling show and you watch this, Dylan paints this picture that fully explains who Manders is and how he got to where he is, who Bobby Flaco is and how he got to where he is, why this match is so important, why the title is so important, and how big of a title change it was when it happened. So, like, the commentary was so good for this show, especially for the main event. It just added even more to it, to the moment and everything. So congratulations to Bobby, and looking forward to seeing Bob right here on the show next week for another interview. And I'm sure he'll have that Action Wrestling World title right there with him. So that'll be a good time catching up with Bob.
Yeah. All right, everybody, we're going to get out of here. Jensen, let everybody know where they can find you at.
Well, thank you, everyone who, this show went an hour longer than it normally does. So thank you very much. And thank you, Jeremy. I'm not blowing smoke. I know you do have stuff you got to do. So I do appreciate you sticking around and doing this as long as we did, because I had the free time today, which I normally don't. So this was a lot of fun for me, being able to breathe a little bit and actually talk through the topics and not have to rush so much on my way out. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate the chat. You can follow me on X, I think, unless it's still locked, at Fight Talk _ Use code Fight Talk and independentwrestling.tv. Listen to the Fightful Select Weekender podcast. It's every Sunday, sometimes Mondays. The only reasons I do Mondays sometimes is based on the Viking schedule and or independent shows that run on Sunday nights that sometimes I can't record until those shows are over. So check that over on FightfulSelect.com. And please join me, Cresta, and Joel on the Fightful YouTube channel over on the main channel for the Bound for Glory post show. That'll be this Saturday, immediately following TNA Bound for Glory.
There you go. All right, everybody, we are gonna get out of here. You can check out In the Weeds tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Myself and Joel Pearl, Rob and Maggie coexisting at 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on Fightful Overbooked. Leave us a good review on iTunes if you're listening to the audio. If you're listening on demand, leave it the thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be back next week, everybody. Bye, everyone.